Hey guys, it's me, Kelly. I have an extra special treat for you, and we've already got comments coming up and questions. So you guys apparently want to know about this. I am so excited. I met Barry Littleton through Peter Maxwell Slattery. And boy, am I glad I did. We have talked on the phone several times, and just you are in for a treat today. I've got the Q&A app open. So anybody that has questions, please throw your questions over there. And without further ado, let me introduce Barry Littleton. Say hello, Barry.
How you doing, Kelly? How are you?
Oh, awesome. I'm so happy to have you on the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's really, it's unique to talk to you. It's really cool.
Oh, this is really a pleasure because I hear from, lots of people that know you. You don't do interviews and you don't do stuff like this. This is kind of a new thing that you're coming out and doing. So I really appreciate what you're doing because you're going to help so many people in doing this. So I really appreciate you being on here and having the courage to come out in public and say this.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. It's nice of you to say. And I never thought all the years I was hiding that anything I knew would be worthy of helping anyone outside of the profession I had chosen. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yay. So do you want to tell everybody? Because, when I tell everybody about someone else, they're like, oh, Kelly, I want to hear from them. Tell me about your childhood. No, joking. Just where, what did you used to do? Did something happen to you and you got into this? Is this a lifelong thing? Where did Barry come from? And why are you doing what you're doing now?
Well, actually, I was one of those individuals. I was born very awake. And when I say that, past life memories and things like that, visions, I used to have that. And I was very aware. I also started having what most people will term extraterrestrial contact at a very young age. All right. Things like when I was younger, certain playmates coming around that would seem to leave when the adults came to supervise, and waking up in the middle of the night, not in my home or in some type of a school, things like that. Also seeing some crafts. And as I got older, that wound up becoming even more dominant as I started requesting different type of contact. So in that way, I would say I've never been abducted, but I have been, I'm an experiencer, definitely. And most of my contacts have been positive. So in that way, I kind of, understanding of those that have been abducted and experimented on, I think that's a real phenomenon right now. I've talked to so many people, but I'm not one of them. Most of my experiences were positive, but also included a great deal of missing time. And into my adult years, that was a little kind of disturbing a little bit. So that required a little bit of hypnotic regressions to have some of these memories. But these things that kind of led me into what was a spiritual path most of my life. I thought I was chasing something, but in reality, it was chasing me, as I think that's happening to so many young people right now. So coming to exception of some of my gifts, and also the contact I was having and trying to make it more tangible was a little bit more obsessing, if that makes any sense.
It does. Oh, yes.
Sorry, I thought I lost you for a minute. I couldn't hear anything for a second.
No, I was just, I'm in Texas and I have allergies and I had muted myself so I could clear my throat. So
yeah. I'm not too far from you, and mine have been killing me this year. I mean, it's time to try not to take the Allegra, but I don't think I'm going to make it this time.
Yeah. Hey, you guys that are out there, have you had a hard year? I mean, is it just us? Or everybody I talked to has had a hard allergy year? If you have, put it in the comments. Let everybody know that you're not alone. It's going to be okay. This was a rough year allergy-wise. And it was a very mild winter, and everything was just very mild. But it was worse on me. And I wonder if it could be the energies, maybe.
Yeah. I'm thinking so. The energy right now has been very erratic. And, I mean, they used to say, like, in the 90s, we were going through some type of a photon belt. I'm beginning to think really that is now, because the energy I'm feeling is very erratic, and people that can't seem to assimilate it or adjust to the vibration are going erratic. They're doing crazy things. They're attacking people. And I'm noticing a lot of people that are coming out and speaking the truth like you, myself now, are getting attacked a lot. whether it's verbal or whatever's going on, so that I think that kind of says something about the state of mind we're in right now, and the frequency we're in, which I think is increasing. And I think that's a blessing, because if not, I worry that humanity could annihilate itself. We're almost at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And with the energy increasing, you're seeing people wake up that, didn't even know that there was a wake up.
Yes. And a lot of the younger people that are coming forward, that was just, I discussed that recently with Mary Rodwell. But there's a lot of young people that are coming forward right now that aren't that young anymore, like the ones I used to test as a child to see if they had telepathy and things like that, like I did. And they would be very aware. You send a telepathic message to one of these star children, they'll turn around their crib and they'll look at you, like, who in the heck are you to think to me? Nobody else is doing it. You know what I mean? But now these individuals are getting in their 20s, early 30s, they're getting married, and they're starting to come forward and said, I couldn't accept my experiences, and I think my child is having them. So that's kind of where we're seeing vibrational waves wise. I think it's kind of, there's an upgrade going on.
You're seeing children born more awake. They're awake and know that they have chosen these parents. And they know why they came here. They came here to teach. So adults need to listen.
There's a show that my brother had turned me on to it's called Ghost in My Child. And it's children that are born with past life memories. I mean, to a point where it's even more vivid than the ones I was born with, in terms of they're reincarnating quick. One kid said he remembers being a kind of 9/11 is what he's just describing. You know what I mean? It's very interesting. So I think that in that way, things are getting thinner. The veil between the dimensions is getting thinner to where the souls are incarnating, and even normal people are becoming more awake in a way that's an attempt to save ourselves, to save the planet.
Now, I don't know your opinion on this. I'll just kind of tell you what I think part of my take is on this. I was born awake, very, very, very awake. And not like after I died. That's completely different. But I was able to see things, hear things that nobody else did. But I had no vaccinations at all. And I think that's possibly one of the reasons why my abilities were able to come out where others were not. And I think what's happening now, there are kids that are being vaccinated, but the energies are so high that it's not suppressing their abilities like I think it was doing when I was a child. What is your opinion on vaccinations and their link to spirituality? And I don't know if you want to give your opinion on health in general.
Try to maintain it or you'll be out of here. Honestly, I was vaccinated and stuff like that, but I wind up getting a lot of attention around graduating grade school, which is around 6th grade. Due to the fact I never contracted any childhood diseases. So I never missed a day of school. And I was like kind of unheard of for 6-7 years. But in that way, I would say some of the things that we're being exposed to, like smallpox and things like we're seeing these chemtrails, it's a very real problem, and I, for one, would never go get a flu vaccination because it is exposing you to the virus. I'll take my chances by washing my hands and not using contaminated hands to break the first barrier, which is my skin. That means eating food with dirty hands, going like this. I see people do it. People say, don't tell me about it. I'm sorry. I see you doing that. You want to get sick? You had just disinfected your hands. You're going to, and it's things like that. I remember in the 90s, that book, Hot Topic, I think it was called. It was about Ebola, and there's a movie that came out behind it also with Justin Hoffman, I think it was. Dustin Hoffman.
So they were planning the conspiracy a long time ago for this fake outbreak.
And interestingly enough, I try to steer away from the conspiracy things, Kelly. But that the United States has a patent for the cure of AIDS and the cure of Ebola. And there are these numbers. You can go to Google Patent and type in the numbers and see the government patent yourself. And when I mention that, people say, like, I took it to my doctor. He says, well, I have this problem, that problem with it. But it was very obvious that he'd never heard of it. So food for thought.
Yeah, food for thought. And if they have a patent for the cure, they also have a patent for the disease.
Yes,
they've created the disease, and they never created a disease without a cure.
And what are the dates on that? 1984 for the creation, which is way before it was announced.
You're more knowledgeable than I am.
Yeah, and 1994 for the cure, the patent, which is actually something that you like. It's colloidal silver, basically, to a certain degree. Yeah.
And we were talking on the phone a while ago about colloidal silver.
Yes.
and how fast it works. It works like really fast. I think what's happening, and what might have happened with you. I mean, you're saying that you never were abducted. You're like an experiencer, but you have missing time. So I'm thinking it's possible you might have been abducted, but we don't know. But there is technology. Not only is there technology, but you can get outside your body into what I call, and Dwayne calls, God consciousness, and you can undo anything that has been done to your body. In the state, and the aliens, if you will, I'm just using a generic term, aliens have the technology to rid you of whatever has been done to your body. So it's possible, even though you did have all your vaccinations, that there might have been some type of intervention.
I've seen, absolutely. I agree. Most of my contacts have involved healing and have been of a positive nature in that way. I've seen some other experiencers getting healed, everywhere from physical to the dream body as well, being toured on these ships. I've normally been there. My conscious memories were physical. That's kind of what makes me a little in a different way from other experiencers. But that's why I say I wasn't abducted, because when I first started having these experiences at a young age, and they were interfering with my physical life, like at school and things, and I was getting proof that this was real, I started requesting something more tangible than astral and dream visions. You know what I mean? I wanted physical contact, something I could prove to others. And then I did all these things. That was around the time that E.T. had came out. The kid made the short radio. I tried to do that. My dad thought I was crazy, but I did all that. I was a telepath. I tried to use my telepathy to reach out to them, and nothing happened after that. I'm having all these experiences, and when I try to make them happen, I can't do it. And then 10 years later, they come physically. That changes everything, especially if someone else is with you and that type of delusion is not shared.
Oh, yeah. It can feel very, very lonely for some people.
Yes, definitely. I think that's what's beautiful about what's happening right now is everyone's talking. And I never dreamed I would ever talk to anyone. Had I not died, like you, I died. Had I not that happened, I don't think I ever would have said anything to anyone. It was much easier just to try to have a decent career and hide.
Isn't that true? You think my life has been easy the last 4.5 years? Holy crap.
It is appreciated, though. It's appreciated. And it's even worth, I think, saying how you and I have come into contact with each other, actually, outside of Peter. I think certain things that are so much synchronicity that it always should be acknowledged,
And it's really nice. And that's why I enjoy talking to you, is because I can say stuff and not have to have this 15-minute conversation to preface what I'm about to say to you. I can just say, this happened. You're like, I know it happened to me too. It feels good to be able to talk to people that have experienced something similar or have been in the same place. So it's
absolutely
nice.
Well, I had a car accident about 4 years, and I was in a coma for a while. I died on the way to the hospital, but when I came out, just after I had what they call clearing out for a traumatic brain injury patient, it means you remember who you are and remember some things. I was using my computer. I said, near-death experience. I typed it in on YouTube, and a video of you came up. And it was maybe the second or third one you posted, maybe?
Possibly, I don't know.
Near-death experience? Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't have seen the other videos, because when I first started doing YouTube, it's like I was doing television until, it's like, okay, if you don't start sleeping with people, you don't get anywhere. And I'm like, career over. What do I do now? And, then I heard I could, do YouTube, and and go on YouTube. It was quite young, and I'm actually a YouTube partner, not just someone who monetizes videos. I'm actually a YouTube partner. Yeah. So I did that, and it's like, what kind of videos am I going to put out? I don't know. I used to travel the world and host travel shows. And I don't quite have the budget for that. So I'll just get in my bathroom and cut my hair and teach everybody how to cut their hair. So my first few videos were all about hair. Got 100,000 views, boom, overnight. I'm like, oh, I guess they like cutting hair. So I cut my friend's hair and all that. But after my near-death experience, it was like, that is so shallow. It is so shallow and meaningless. And so the videos that you found, it was probably about the second or third video of the meaningful videos that I started putting out instead of just like the hair cutting videos. And that's just when everything changed. So yeah, that was at the beginning when you found me.
Wow. Yeah, because it was that one, and the next one I saw was you started talking about the moon, which I agree with a lot of what you said there. And you remote viewing the moon. I found that very interesting, and I contrasted that with what Ingo Swann was saying, what I've kind of seen myself, and some of the knowledge that I was given about it. Another thing would be Comet L9. You spoke about that, and you saw exactly what I saw on that, which was an odd sea of crystals. And I thought that was what 2001 and Space Odyssey in science fiction will call a Bracewell probe, which is a probe that actually would come from ancient Earth, the Earth I remember, coming back the same way a rocket booster comes back and falls to Earth. Maybe for Star Trek fans, Star Trek, the original motion picture, Voyager was Voyager 1. Remember, it came back. Similar to that, though, but that's kind of what I thought Comet L9 was, and I thought it would come
change course.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're a comet, you're like do. You don't go, oh, let's go over here. Oh, let's go over here. That comets don't do that.
Do you remember you made a comment about the ships that you saw escorting it in that were slightly out of phase, and you said they look similar to an X-wing from Star Wars?
I've done so many videos and seen so much stuff. I remember the ships that you're talking about, and I couldn't. Star Wars was the closest pictures I could get to the ships that it looked like. That wasn't even it, but yeah. Now I remember that now. Yeah.
Here's what's cool. I got a friend in town, Bill. He wrote a book called Beyond Watching. He's actually an engineer. But he's got a lot of pictures and techniques he uses to take these pictures, but a couple of them he has look identical to the one you're talking about. And it looks like a slightly phased out X Star Wars. I don't know the exact model of it, but I mean it looks like a Star Wars contraption.
Well, yeah, if you want to Facebook those to me on Messenger, yeah, I'll take a look and see. And if it's what I saw, because I can't find a picture of what I saw. That's the hard thing. You can get close.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to take you off track there.
Oh no, we've got like, hey Kelly, catched you live. My hand is almost broken. Oh, poor thing. But I love you so much. Thank you. Oh, that's so sweet. We've got some questions. Some of these, like, I don't know, like, where your knowledge base is completely. So some of these questions might not apply to you at all as I'm asking them. So I apologize if I ask you a question that's not in your realm. But
I'm pretty odd guy, so go for it.
There you go. Here's another one. Interviews are always after I come home from work. Awesome, because they're home right now. But they said, I also have allergies for 2 months now. I never had allergies. So there you go.
Mine, I'm sorry. I had to regress to just using regular medication. The only thing that worked for me is Allegra D. Of all those over-the-counter deals, none of those worked for me. All right, but if you're looking alternative-wise, I will say something odd that did help me. There's a thing called the Georges Lahovsky MWO oscillator, and it's basically these two circular antennas that are hooked up to a generator, a small generator, like a static generator. You sit in the middle of it, and you sit in the middle of the antennas, and I had a acquaintance that had one for a little while, and I'd sit in front of it maybe once or twice a week for like 10 minutes, and it knocked my allergies out. but he's gone. The machine's gone now. But it's just worth looking at. What it's doing is bending different electromagnetic frequencies of your own biofield. But it helped my allergies, no way around it. So,
Yeah, and I think, and that's why I said, I think it could be these energies that are doing it, because there's not, we've had more pollen in past years. You know what I mean? I mean, we've had it worse, and it's just bad right now. So that's what it is.
Do you believe, Kelly? Do you believe they're spraying things? Are you into that? The chemtrails and all that?
Well, I don't have to believe anything. I just have to look up. You know. And there have been some mystery things that have happened. Like, we will have a whole lot of chemtrailing for days and days and days. It will be really bad. Then all of a sudden everybody will have a stomach thing. Everybody's sick with a stomach thing. Or I feel like this is not a head cold. I don't know what it is, but it's the closest thing it can come to is a head cold, but everybody has it. But I notice things like that after they have really heavily sprayed. So there was something recently, and oh gosh, I've lost track of time. I don't know if it was 3 weeks ago or whatever. They were heavy chemtrailing, and something got me that I think might be a virus. Because my immune system is so freaking good. You know what I mean? And it was like, for the first time since I died, before that I was really healthy and I didn't get sick, but after I died, it's just like, I just don't get sick. And it felt like all my symptoms, like I had some type of virus going on. And at the same time, almost everybody I talked to had the same symptoms. So right now, and I'm going to do a whole video on this later, but right now I have a diet change and supplements. I'm going through a protocol. You have days 1 through 10 and days 11 through 21 that you do certain things, because these viruses will attach themselves to your cells and they will hide inside of your body. And your immune system just is like, I can't see you. Your immune system can't even see them to attack it, and they stay there. And then just a little thing triggers them, and boom, you get sick. So what I'm doing is, if there's anything in there that is a virus, it will make it the first 10 days, it will make it let go. And then those last, 11 or 12 days or whatever, you just bombard it with not only your own immune system, but other things that will kill those viruses that are natural. So a lot of people that, have AIDS and herpes and other viruses that are, sticking in there, you can get those out and make them gone, where when you go to the doctor and you have a test, you don't have any. So I think that they sprayed us over one period of time, that they changed what they were spraying on us, and possibly sprayed us with some viruses, because it wasn't just me, it was everybody.
I'm being encouraged here to take this to another level. All right. It's going to sound odd, but I think you're definitely ready for it. And it's something just for people to think about. All right. One is, if we think about space organisms, all right, something that they just recently discovered called, excuse me, the tardigrade, which is actually Tardigrade, almost like Doctor Who TARDIS. Tardigrade, it's commonly called the water bear also. But it's almost microscopic, and it is capable of going into a type of suspended animation, almost cryogenic, to where it is impervious to ultraviolet radiation and cosmic radiation.
Okay.
So that means it is capable of interstellar travel. All right. Okay. Now, people can get online. I think it's Berkeley that has a site that's called Stardust at Home. And what you can do is you can log on to that and look at the colloidal bucket that they sent up on that satellite that collected just tons of space dust that they brought down here, and they're trying to buy it and doing some type of radiation experiments on it and things like that. All right. But you can identify with this microscope, this electron microscope, a track, and have it named after you. Okay. But my point is this: when we're dealing with something like these tardigrades and space organisms, microverse, all right, and we're going out there and collecting buckets of them and bringing them back here and experimenting on them.
That's not a good idea.
If you look at that as terms of collective consciousness, that's warfare. Is that not warfare?
Oh, and my gosh.
I think we need to look at some things like, heck, mad cow disease. That just came out. It took the world, and I wouldn't eat a burger myself. you know, and then all of a sudden it was just gone. Nobody was talking about it anymore. Mad deer disease, that's another one. I think the red rain that was going on in China, you know, this needs to be looked at. And I think some of these spraying we're seeing for some of these chemtrails may be an attempt to combat this warfare. You know what I mean? And I think, because I think they don't know what to do when these things are coming in. I would say like some of these meteorites that seem to be coming in awful close, like the one in Russia about a year ago. Anyone takes a real good look at that, they try to say, no, there's another one that came in and hit that, and it kind of made it explode. Is that really what it was? Or we're dealing with a holographic type of technology and someone that helped us? Just food for thought once again, you know. But as far as sentient life on a collective basis, collective conscious basis, I think that the space organisms need to be looked at completely different, and what they're doing as far as bringing them down and doing experiments on space dust and the bacteria that exist in space. Things that we used to call panspermia.
So do you think that they are going, here's this bucket of stuff, let's just dump it on the people and see what happens? Do you think that's going on, or it accidentally spread when they brought it here?
You know, when I go, it goes back to things like the World Depopulation Program. And I know they were spraying whooping cough and stuff like that out of those planes then. Somebody was. But as far as now, what they're dumping, I don't know how much of it is they're dumping it on us, how much of it they're trying to maybe combat organisms that are coming in here on hostile. I know if you come to any continent right now and you scoop up about 25,000, 50,000 people, somebody's going to come for you. That's a lot of families. That's a lot of personnel. Someone's coming.
I see.
It's you know, I don't mean to be negative, but it's just things I think from a collective consciousness with our planet, what we need to be trying to reach out and try to get to a different level, you know.
And it's about extraterrestrial-ish communications.
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Have you? Oh, we got hello. We got, that's not a question, but that's okay. Let's see. Someone made a comment. Star Wars is actually the history of the war on the Orion constellation.
It very well may be. I know Peter Slattery is has Orion background. I do not. My contacts come from way beyond that, and most of my contacts do not conform to modern ufology or most of the new age concepts right now. My experiences are completely different. But as far as I know, there was definitely a war there of some type, and there's also some type of a gateway there. So I've heard of 2 different types of Orion, so that may very well be correct as far as I know. So.
And in Star Wars, you have a Death Star. And when you this is bigger than people think. It's not just like the Orion constellation thing, because you can look at some of the moons around some of the planets in our own solar system, and they have that indentation, you know, the concave circle on it.
Yes.
That's a moon. And they put, you know, dirt on the surface of the moon to make it look like a big rock and all that, but it's not, and they hide those. So what looks like the Death Star, those suckers are all over the place. They're all over the place. Our own moon, you know, we don't see the concave, you know, circle on our moon. Is it on the other side? Because have you gone to the moon and taken pictures? How do we know that the pictures that they are showing us are actually the other side of the moon?
Yes, exactly. That brings up an interesting deal about the moon. All right. You know, when I was having experiences as a very young kid, they were telling me that the moon is not what it appeared to be. All right. And I started going to the library, searching for books, and the book everybody seems to keep laughing at right now I found was called Somebody Else is on the Moon. We're going back to like 1980, and it was way before that, but it was having these things that looked like tractors and machinery in certain craters on the moon. And, you know, that book disappeared, but then maybe 10 years later, I started hearing about Richard Hoagland. He started talking about the shard and the crystal cities and the things on the dark side of the moon. Now, for me, through spiritual pursuits, I used to study Kriya Yoga and Pranayama Yoga, all right? And the gurus used to talk about, those gurus talked about during the moon, or during the time we incarnate to this planet, we come through a gate at the dark side of the moon. And they called it the soul catcher, all right? They also said that we go back to the dark side of the moon when we're dreaming in astral body, all right? Now, I don't mean to be negative, but this is what was brought to my attention that I remember, all right? And also a reason why, as you know, our souls, not our physical bodies, but our souls, our spirits are immortal, are they not?
Correct.
Okay.
They're eternal. They exist even outside of this universe.
Mm-hmm. Me being born this lifetime, someone that seemed to skip some of that, the fact that most of us are immortal souls and devoid of soul life memories is a problem. Why? And I hear so much, oh, we chose to incarnate here and come here, yada, yada, which is true to a certain degree. I agree with that. But that does not explain why during this process of incarnating from the ethereal side to this, why we're suddenly lost in life memories. I had some of mine, but we come through this net, all right? And I think Nikola Tesla called it scalar frequencies. We come through that, and this is what the next book I was led to was called, around the same time, Kelly, was The Ring Makers of Saturn, another very old book. And that guy had pictures of what he said was 500-mile Legion ships out there that were mining or creating the rings, all right? Now, my guides had told me that the rings were like an antenna and generating this frequency. All right. And
I'm getting kind of the same message, different vocabulary, but kind of the same message that they're being used as a system of control on all levels, not only as weapons, but the frequency of your body and other things.
Yeah. And, I think we're dealing with a system that shocks us. It shocks our energy, our soul energy. If people want to call it prana or orgone, that's got, Wilhelm Reich proved that's got an antagonistic relationship with electricity. So I think we get shocked to a certain degree in what we would call now hypnotic suggestion, brainwashed, and then sit here. And the fact that we know the universe is a soul reprocessing factory or whatever. How many times have we reincarnated here and are unaware of it? Some of us can remember a few lifetimes, but if you can't remember, you may have been here hundreds of times and have no memory of it. And that bothers me that when I look around, if we go with Sheldrake's theory of morphogenetic field, like what Yoda would call the force, the field down here is very negative, Kelly. The murder, there's some light shining, definitely, but the amount of negativity is bad. And these souls obviously can reincarnate from lower levels of awareness, just like you and I, and do murderous things here, and then maybe come back again and again. You know what I mean? And I say that when I finished my degree, I did a deal on serial killers for my thesis, and it was
my husband is very interested in that. My daughter's actually reading books on that. He likes to study the mind of the serial killers and all that. So you and my husband would get along really well.
Well, I will tell you, he must be weird like me. I had to let that go. I was like, oh, I don't want to deal with more of that vibration. It freaked me out. And
He's like, I'll just say he's someone you don't want to mess with ever.
Well, from my city is where BTK was, and that was something that haunted, bind, torture, and kill. He was from my city, and he just got caught, about 10 years ago? Oh, yeah. But you know what I'm talking about? The BTK killer?
We watched a serial killer series, and I know that was in it, but I can't remember the exact details, but I've seen the details of almost all the serial killers at this point. And then it kind of drew a lot of the people that they killed like around me. So I had to stop that because I was constantly having to like get back, because they're like, you can hear me. So I had to stop watching that. My husband's okay, but I couldn't do it.
It kind of makes you like the ghost whisperer, doesn't it? The first time I ran into a discarded person, they attacked me. I was about 6. I'll never forget it. More of the
man, we've got so much to say. It just can't. It's hard to come out of one little mouth. Everything that you need to say.
Yeah. It's where were we at just before we started talking about the ghosts themselves?
I
Oh,
don't know.
I'm sorry.
Are
I'm
you
sorry.
doing a Kelly? All right, I like that.
Sporadic. You know what I mean? Okay, serial killers. The what really got me is this. All right, and I think we should probably leave the subject after this. But Jeffrey Dahmer, after he got caught, and he did a couple of interviews from prison with Diane Sawyer. You all right?
Yeah,
What are you saying?
yeah. Let's get through this quickly so I can get rid of them because they're
Okay, yeah. Well, it's for alert people and it has to be left alone. Anyway, he said something. He was very meek the way he sat there and everything. And at one point, he said, "A lot of people have asked if I'm schizophrenic or why I did what I did." He looks up and kind of straightened up. He goes, "I did it because it felt good, and if you let me go, I will do it again and again." And the look on her face, Diane Sawyer, in my opinion, is a great journalist who's very detached. This time, even her face was like, whoa. I had to cut that off after that because what I saw was a demon saying what it liked, what it loved, what it would go back to when its body quit running. So that needs to be looked at, and we have to get rid of that part of our population. That way, I hope this is changing from being a prison planet. I think we're seeing a switch, but things are happening like a last feast before as this switch is going on. The darker forces are running amok right now, trying to stop this.
I'm just wasn't prepared for this. I didn't know this was going to happen.
Let's talk about some angelic touching. You saw angels when you died, like I did. Supernatural. Let's talk about that.
If you want to call them angels, little tricksters trying to get me into that tunnel and recycle me.
Whoa! Hold on. That was heavy. Hold on. So what you're saying though is you were enticed by a false light when you passed. Is that correct?
Call it. It's all terminology. It's like I use different terminology, but there are beings, and their job is to, come swipe you up when you die and put you into what I feel might possibly be the moon, and store your soul in the moon, and then when they're ready. They give you some story about you didn't do so good this last time around. You have to come back as a grasshopper or whatever, and they recycle you. But there is a system to continue these souls being captured, tortured, basically on this planet, and then the ones above them that are, I'll call them globulous, kind of like one of those lava lamps. That's kind of what they look like to me, only like in energy form. They're the ones that are feeding off of us. So the ones, and the term false light to me might be the accurate term, but it doesn't make any sense to me because I don't see things as in terms of like light and dark. They just kind of exist and they have an agenda. And this agenda might work for you, but someone's like, it doesn't work for me, so they're on the dark side, and it's like their agenda works for me and it's on the light side, So I try not to categorize good and bad because this universe is just, God having or source having an experience, and what, it's not even labeled good or bad. We have pain and pleasure, so that's kind of how we label things. If it's painful, it's bad. If there's pleasure, it's good. But it was a blue guy. It was a blue guy, and I interviewed someone. At this point, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say his name or not because there's some.
I watched that.
Some issues, but he was there when over 100 people died, and the blue guy was there to take every single one of them away. But here's the deal: they get you before you wake up. Now, dying is just like waking up. I mean, you might have a different way that you describe it, but it's just like on this planet, when you wake up, you're a little groggy, and then the more time that passes, the more awake and alert you are. Like when you die, they come to get you before you're awake. Come here, come this way. This is the way to go. And you're like, no, I see something shiny. I want to keep looking around, and they try to get you. So my advice to everyone is before you go in that tunnel, and I'm not saying don't go in that tunnel, but wake up completely and know what you're doing. It's kind of like getting you drunk and having you sign a contract.
Oh, well, I want to really commend you. What you just said and the way a lot of people are listening to you, and that is wonderful the way you said that. And I see why this came up, because people get a little irritated when I bring this up, and I'm not a negative person that lingers on that, but knowledge is power, and we have to start there and be aware of that. You know, the first time I heard John Lear say something this is about 90 or 91, don't go to the light, don't go to the light, it's a trick. And I was very disturbed by that, because I've dealt with light beings and have dealt with light to a great degree. You know what I mean? But I try not to categorize in that way, but I didn't understand. He's talking about two different lights, like the light of the moon and the light of the sun. The light is that, the sun is that light giving light. And that moon light is
a reflection.
You know, but once we get out, before we like join the Akashic records, what happens when our bodies quit running, our physical bodies, like you said, we're not joined yet. We're still coming out of this haze, this transition, and they grab us then. I just got through speaking of that, and the technique is, what type of traps would be created to ensnare an immortal soul? I'm sorry, but I didn't want to think about that. But it was brought to me, my guys. I've never been attacked, but they showed me, you need to be aware of this. Okay, so in that way, you just described that quite well. And you know, I just posted something concerning this, and once we go to that false light, then we get what? Shocked again, electric shock. We get hypnotically wiped clean again, and told, hey, you got to go back. You've got a special deal back there, but you just can't remember that either, and go on back. You know, but there are ways past that, like you just said. So I just want to say thank you for bringing that up. Definitely.
I was trying to find my chart that I drew that looks really terrible to kind of explain this, because I wanted to explain a little more what I meant by, you know, when you said false light. I want to make sure everybody kind of understands what I'm talking about. This is like, pretend like this is the universe, like not the circle, but below the circle. like this is source, and it opens. This is not what it looks like. This is just a figurative. So, and it you know, opens up like this, and then here's the universe. Well, you've got levels, which are called dimensions or whatever. They're not stacked on top of each other. They're in the same space at the same time, you know, happening at the same time. It's just different frequencies. But you know, it's like you are here. And then below this dotted line is what, if you want to call it the matrix, if you want to call it the video game or whatever, it is below this line. So under this line, you've got Jesus, you've got angels, you've got demons, you've got, you know, all sorts of stuff under the line that are playing the game, and we categorize them. So although you have something that's called an angelic being, it's still not source, and it's still not outside of the video game. And these angels still have agendas. I'm not saying they're bad agendas, but you need to always go to source. I mean, that's what I stress more than anything. Yes, always connect with source outside of this matrix. So that's why I'm reluctant to say light and dark, because it's all in the video game. So just because you're going to the light doesn't mean it's okay.
I think that painting you just showed is even more than that. I just got something else from it. Okay. If the pyramid there, you've got cosmic alignment on top of that, and underneath the pyramid you have, you know, there are waters, an artesian well underneath the Great Pyramid where there's souls trapped there, and they're like in a suspended type of animation. They're called sleeping survivors. All right, I don't know if they've been liberated yet. And let me take that and correlate that to something else you just said. Okay, you're blowing it up, Kelly, and you're about to make me probably pass out.
Okay, let's check that. I got some more. Okay, let me hear it.
You talked about souls being trapped maybe in the moon. Okay, and what we're dealing with, I've been talking a lot about resurrection technology is what it's been called. And there's a lot of experiencers that have been seeing a resurrection tube technology, and it involves these black cubes, these black boxes, which we have all over our planet, black boxes in almost every country.
Like the Borg. Off of Star Trek, the Borg.
Exactly. But you know, my understanding is this, and Linda Moulton Howe deals with this a lot. Anybody can type her name in, and extraterrestrial resurrection technology. She's talking to people over the world, that experiencers that have seen this. All right, this tube technology that they're using, these clone bodies, and they're using these cubes to transfer life or soul essence from a regular body to one of these clone bodies. Some of them sometimes to help people, but sometimes maybe not. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to talk more than what I know, but I'd say this is something that needs to be looked at right now. It's called alien or resurrection technology and tube technology. and there's a lot of people talking about it, and it brings up a whole nother thing.
And then you're like, they're trapped in you said waters, and this is not. Oh, I'm pulling my hair. Good grief! This is not water, but this line right here. What I was trying to do with this grid is to talk about God consciousness. God consciousness is above this line, which is outside of the matrix. When you access God consciousness, you can see inside of this and go, oh, well, duh, we're in a software program. This squiggly line right here represents Christ consciousness. And this is where they trap you. They trap you in the Christ consciousness. And then when you die, it's not only family members, but other things that might be Jesus or might be whatever religion is on the level of Christ consciousness, and they keep you down in the matrix, and you're not able, when you die, to go boom outside of the video game and be with source. They make you think you're with something that is a God, like the Christ consciousness. I'm not going to name names, Jesus, but they trap you in these religions and all that, and keep you in this video game, because you're not supposed to stay in the video game when you come outside these bodies. You're supposed to go to source and then go, hey, I want to hang out a while, or hey, I want to go torture myself again on planet Earth.
Kelly, have you ever read the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the Bardo Thodol? You ever read that?
Where is that? It's right here. I have it. I have not. Okay, try not to strangle myself on camera, because that would be embarrassing. Like, okay.
Oh, listen, we don't want that.
Okay. Oh crap! I got the wrong book.
That was Paulson, chakras and Kundalini, was it not?
Yeah. I have not read this one yet, because this is in the video game. And
when I was a kid, I got that book. That's a great book. The manual, the descriptions of the extra chakra system is how to raise the Kundalinis. Sorry, you're tearing me up. Okay, this one here. You just described
the Tibetan Book of the Dead that I have and I have not read yet.
I'll tell you what, you just described it quite well, though. All right,
really? That's why I got it. Is because everybody said everything you're saying reminds me of this book. So
yes, well, it's called really the Bardo Thodol, and what Bardo means is different astral levels we experience after death. All right, and it describes the several days after death. Like the first few days, you encounter all the negativity you put out comes back, which we basically would call a panoramic life review.
Life review.
And I didn't quite get to this point during my death process, but I know I did definitely get some of it. All right. But the negativity you get comes back twice or a millionfold. And that's enough to scare a lot of people back into reincarnating into a body, or even lower than that. All right. Then the next step is a lot of people don't have much of that. So they go through the bliss side. All the love and all the good they put out comes back a millionfold too. Now, the problem with that is you can get blissed out. And the way it was described is kind of like these gods on a beach, and everything they could ever want is brought to them. What reason do they have to ever go any further? So they reach a point of stagnation. Anybody listening to me right now might remember Star Trek: The Next Generation, the being named Q that was omnipotent. And what Q kept coming around, kept coming back, and finally Picard said, "What do you want?" And he said, "There's something about humanity." And he said something about a couple of thousand years. He goes, "In several thousand years, you know how advanced we'll be?" He goes, "Yeah, we know, maybe more advanced than us. And we have to know what it is about you that makes you keep going and keep wanting more." They have become stagnated. Same type of a deal. But you just described that very well, I think. Sorry.
See, this life review also, and I caught this. This is what I call a glitch. The life review, I did not experience it when I died, but I experienced it before I died. And some people probably know what I'm talking about. I was in a situation when I was a little kid. We lived in the country, so there was like country style decorating in their homes. So their bar stools were basically saddles. And you would sit on the saddle at their house, at the bar. So I was there. We went to see Alabama. I know I don't listen to country music, but someone else paid for my tickets. I went to see Alabama, and then we went back to our house. So I got on this saddle on this bar stool, and was like, I was just being funny, and I was just, you don't buck on a bar stool. It was not a rocking stool, and so I was kind of rocking it, if you know what I mean. It was just, you know how kids are. I keep my kids from doing that. They've fallen down a few times, but anyway, I was just rocking like, and then I went a little bit too far, where I was like, I'm gonna go back. I was very low to the ground. I would not have died or anything like that, but it startled me. So bad. It startled me because I caught myself. I did not fall, but when I went back, right when it was almost at that tipping point of, I might go back. I don't know if I can swing my momentum to come back and sit properly on this bar stool. And so while I was going back, it was almost like someone had hooked me up to electricity. It was this huge shock. I felt this shock inside my body. And when I felt that shock, my life, it was in a split second. I saw my entire life in front of my eyes. It was a life review that I went through when that happened. So that's how I know this life review is a program. It's a program inside of this video game. It's not God consciousness. This is not Source doing this to you. This is a program inside of this video game of the recycling process.
Well, I think that we also have a part of us that hypnotists would classify as super consciousness and things, that is actually a record keeper of everything, of all soul and activity. And I do believe that part of us is still with Source and is still in perfection with Source. And that is the part that does judge us. We judge ourselves in which way, you know what I mean? We are just trying to remember that we're a piece of Source, it seems to me. Anyway, but yeah. And I see that how at that level of bliss and that level of Christ consciousness, it would be easy to attack someone. I often use frames of reference for things. And so I use like something as entertainment. Like, once again, I'll go back to Star Trek. I had just posted this on my Facebook deal. I'll talk to people on there. It was an episode of Star Trek Voyager with Captain Janeway, where she crashed with a couple
Janeway
of
officers. And the alien.
Yeah.
I put that on Facebook recently. Yeah, it's Janeway and the alien. So go look it up on YouTube, guys.
And if nothing else, just look at the last few minutes of it when she realized she's not just walking around a menagerie. And you know what that being said and did, and it didn't say it was an alien, did it, Kelly?
Oh, no.
It said what my species does is come to you at a time of death. Yeah.
And then it said, I will feed on you it said, I will come back for you. And when I do, I will feed off of you for eternity, for a long time, or something like that. What does that tell you?
I remember
that was so telling at the end when he said, I will feed off of you for a long time after I get you.
And he was trying to get her to go into a matrix, remember? Come into the matrix. And at the time, that was so mixed up with Keanu Reeves, because that was in the mid-90s, that I wasn't paying as much attention to what he was saying, but the end of it, anyway, wow. I think this was good. This is going to make a lot of people be aware of it, and that we can intend ourselves past that. That we have seraphim, we have angels, our own guardian angels on earth that are resident here. They've been here long before humanity. And now it's time to start reaching a medium ground to commune with these beings. We've got to save ourselves quick. No more time to waste. You know what I mean?
And although they are in the video game, so are we. So we need to try and get along in the video game and work together.
You're bringing back that. Remember The Last Starfighter? When I was a kid.
I don't know if I saw that one. I don't think I saw that one.
He had to play the video game, but he got real good. Being came down and trained him to be like a starfighter. Sadly, I think the being was a reptile, but we'll go into that another time. I don't deal with that much.
there was a reptile in my husband for a while, and I saw it. And when we had that medical scare and he completely changed his lifestyle, it changed his frequency, and his frequency got higher, and that being was gone. That was inside of him, and everything, all because for years he made doing YouTube videos so difficult. Like, he was making sure that he interrupted my videos, and he made it really, really hard. And then when that being was out of him, it was like, Kelly, how can I help you? What can I do today to make your life better with your YouTube and your spiritual stuff and all that? And yeah, so I think that being, that reptilian type being, was inside of him. It was trying to get me to stop. And here's the cool thing that I found, and see if you see the same thing. They don't come and just do something to you and change it, because it's like the free will mentality. That being that was inside my husband never stopped me. It slowed me down a bit, but it never stopped me. It never absolutely stopped me. I still had a choice. So the way that I see this is, it's more they're allowed to influence, and they're allowed to trick, and they're allowed to do all that, but you could still say no. Is that what you found to be true?
Yes. You know, for me, when I had died, I mean, I experienced a lot of unconsciousness. But the time I didn't, I was definitely being helped. You know what I mean? And the beings are helping me. I can't call them. The only term I found is super nanofem, because I've experienced earth angels here and seen angels in my physical body here, but the frequency these were on were completely different. I've experienced extraterrestrials, interdimensions, the whole deal. This frequency was different. And you wouldn't think that pure love could hurt, but I'll tell you, just a little bit more pure source love, and it would have burned out my chakras in my physical body. And it makes you see how somebody could physically combust. It could be from too much love. I never thought that was possible. But if we don't have that frequency channeled down to our physical domain here, it's pretty rough. You know what I mean? Now I'm only speaking now. When I was out of the body or wherever I was, whatever happened, you know, I was out of there a lot. And I think I was transitioning constantly during the time I was in the coma, and just refused to leave and was allowed to come back. You know, several of us have been through some of that. You know.
Oh, absolutely. And what I've done in the process, and this is something that when I go on tour with Dwayne, what we're going to help people do, because you're talking about you can burn someone up and just kaboom, they just explode and turn into vapor. That absolutely makes sense to me. So I needed more help. I needed more stuff inside of me. So I asked for an upgrade. So I had to have some DNA stuff done first. So I got the DNA upgrade, and then I connected with Source, and Source put more of me. When I say me, I'm not talking about this body. This is just True Sika calls it meat suit. I needed more of me in this meat suit in order to accomplish what I need to accomplish on this planet, because I didn't have enough. So my body had to go through some changes before I could handle that energy. And that still wasn't everything. I still had to continue to step up. So some people think like, oh, I just wake up one day and then that's it. It's like, no, it's like climbing stairs. And when you climb stairs, just like your stairs at home, you can have like step, 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 and then a long stair that kind of turns to the side, and then some more stepping up, and then another step that's kind of longer, and then you step up. So it's not just, 1, 2, 3 in perfect increments walking up the stairs. But I think that's what people think, that when I wake up, I'm there. But no, you just progressively evolve higher and higher.
Yes. I was a little disconcerted at first, because all my spiritual practices were designed to try to keep awareness after my container stopped working, to where I could go directly to the creator, to Source, and bypass a lot of the bardo, the astral levels, and go directly there. And yet when I found myself, when I came back in my body, for the amount of time I was in the coma and gone, I remembered very little, just flashes. I see some things, and I chose not to go too deep into it, because I was told by the angels, they said that the pain I was in could have killed me. Even the doctors told me that later. They said, we're kind of surprised the pain you were in, you could have killed you. And you don't think that, because of the time I knew who I was, I was kind of all right.
That's really how I died, was the pain. The pain was so bad that it killed me.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm glad you survived.
Me too. Most days.
Yeah.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Indeed, one thing I came back with, by all means, and I mean, that was so, even before I knew who I was, it took me 2 months to remember who I was after the brain injuries. But I will say the one thing even then I came back with was that, as spiritual as I thought I was, I underestimated the impact that our relationships have on each other. It is eternal. It goes to the other side, and it's so much more. We don't really remember what we are. You know what I mean? And that's the only thing I can really say about when I passed. That definitely came back. There's no way around that. And I feel it now, and every day I try to live by that more than just the golden rule that I did like G.I. Joe when I was a kid. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was instantly. I left my body and I came back, and like when you leave your body, you go, oh, because you immediately know that you are eternal spirit, having an experience. You know who you are and what you are and why you came to this planet. You remember that instantly when you come out of your body.
Yeah.
So it's best to do it without dying. And while you're in your body would be better.
Kelli, I have a question. Do you feel that the blue man, do you think that's a death angel, or do you feel that's the deceiver?
It's just a terminology. He is who he is. Well, I call it a he because it had a male voice. I think its role is to capture you. Deception. Yeah, I would say that there was deception involved. I'm not saying calling him a deceiver, but there was definitely deception involved. There was a physical tractor beam pulling me as well towards the tunnel. But I think it's just that being's job. Not that it's like, here's the good ones and I'm a bad one and I'm going to capture you. I don't think it's like I'm the deceiver.
I have a question. So do you feel he was the Janeway alien? Like, was he like that, or was he something on the other side that wasn't that one was definitely negative, right? I mean, do you feel like he was that type of a escort, or was this something different?
He was a trickster. Okay, like the Janeway alien, there was never the end part where it revealed what it was, and I will get you, my pretty, it never did that at the end. But you know how it was, wait, was it her dad? Is that what it came in?
Back as,
Yeah, so it tricked her. Hey, I'm your dad. Come with me. That's exactly what it was doing. This is the way to go. Come this way. Come to me, and all that. Till right at the end, it never turned evil or revealed its intentions or anything. But the last thing it said was, "It's your time to go." And I was like, "No, it's not my time to go. I have to go back." And just like her, when she said no, it was forced to go back where it came from. Yep. So when I said no, it had to let me go. And so I immediately started coming back, because the thoughts in my head were, how hard am I going to have to fight this guy to go back? Because,
what was so interesting about that interview you did, I watched that. I watched it right after you posted. It was very good because I didn't see a blue person, but I'm from the Blue Soul group. And most of my extraterrestrial contacts have been blue. If they have bodies or not, they're blue frequency. All right. But this seemed different. I was wondering, why can't I remember seeing this blue man? And what I found interesting is that gentleman said, I can't remember his name, but he said in the hospice he worked in, how many other workers that were not quote unquote clairvoyant could see the blue man sometimes, and how many patients had seen the blue man, to where I Googled it. You can bring it up with hospice. It does come up quite frequently. And I'm wondering,
I got a question for you then. During your death experience or your near-death experience, was there ever a time that they said, okay, do you want to stay? Do you want to go back? Or you have to go back? Did you get to that point?
I gotta be honest with you. I feel 100% yes that I was asked to leave and I refused to leave. But I remember something else. I was standing on this, like a sandbar. And now that I've seen like a tsunami, how the waves come over sea level are coming towards me, And I said, "You okay?" Sorry, am I upsetting you? I'm sorry.
No, it just made me realize something, because, okay, they told you to come back. Okay. Well, nobody told me to come back. I chose to come back before there was even a question. I chose to come back. And from all of my experience, every time the blue guys, they do not come back.
Oh, wow.
So this is just, I'm trying to think. I know I'm not the only one that chose to come back on this planet instead of choosing to stay. I mean, it would have been so easy to choose to stay, but I think deep down inside, I knew something was wrong. even though it felt wonderful.
Discernment, yes.
I think I knew something was wrong, and it was like, no, and that maybe I might not have known exactly what it was, but it's like, no, I got to go back.
And think
so
about
when
you
you're saying that they saw the blue entities, and every time you see that blue entity, they don't ever come back.
Yeah.
And you didn't see that blue entity, so maybe this was just a time where they needed to talk to you.
I was on this. Yeah, I was on this sandbar, and I see the waves coming in, and a voice says, "Stay out of the water. It's the pain. It will kill you." And so I didn't go into it. I looked behind me, and there's nobody there. Can feel them, but can't see them. And as far as the beings I saw, okay, I saw 4 super nanofrem, okay, and one of them was a purple color, okay, but none of them were saying, "Hey, why don't you go ahead and die?" Yeah. They were trying to help me and helping channeling not just pure source energy, but I must have had 100 of my friends came up there and saw me and actually took time to really stop their day and pray for me. And I'm sure they were channeling some of that energy as well, or vibration. I mean, I know it sounds a little odd, but I'm telling you, this is what happened to me. It's the fact that where they said I would be a vegetable and I would not have any life memories, short-term or long-term. And let me tell you, I know that the Creator and these angelic beings helped me. No way around that. They definitely did. But I think I was given the opportunity to leave, and I said, no, I wasn't done yet. I had a friend that White Dove that's a quote-unquote, whatever you want to call them around here, clairvoyant, whatever. She came to she sees differently than me, but she came to my room when I was still in the coma. And when I got out, I've been seeing her and visiting with her since I was 15, you know. And I said, when I died, something happened. I want to know what you saw. So she had me come over and she started telling me about the angels that she saw in my room that were working on my brain and every other way. And she described 6, where I saw 4. And she said that the main one said, the golden one, who's the main one.
Yeah, because I was looking behind you, and I see 4, that there might be 2 more. Might be out of the frame. But there were like 2 over here and 2 over here, and they're golden. They're right behind.
Yeah, and you know that he in fact the main one, the leader. I didn't even throw out the name, but he told her he was given the chance to leave, and he said no, he's not done yet, and said also he'll make almost 100% recovery. And, and then even to the point of where she never came back. She said, people there, I couldn't go back to your hospital room. So I pulled in the parking lot and start praying for you. And then he started coming to my house. He came out in the parking lot. Then the golden one started coming to my house. And just before I went to her house, when I was kind of all right at that point, out of the hospital, she said, in fact, before you came over here, he told me he was worried about you. I said, why? Why I got to the hospital? Because something was going to be wrong with your speech. It was going to be fleeting, and you weren't going to take it well. And that's exactly what happened to me. She goes, you seemed like you talked pretty good. I said, yeah, but it was like that at first. I sounded like William Shatner, my dad said.
Oh, nothing wrong with that.
William Shatner, oh, yeah.
There's nothing wrong
maybe I could
with that.
Yeah, maybe airline tickets. Get the ticket to Australia. But yeah. I think I'm really glad you brought that up. Thank you for the way you elaborated the death process. I think that was very well said.
It was not, when we first talked about this, we had kind of an idea of what we were going to be talking about, and we have just gone, but where we're going is apparently where we're supposed to go. Because if you mind, will you come on again? There is no end to what we can talk to. We're not done yet, but
yeah, I'm not anybody famous. No one knows who I am, and I don't want people.
Oh, you are so famous. He is being humble.
I live in the country, man.
I grew up in the country, practically born in a barn. It's all right.
Funny when you say, still to this day, when I think of Texas, I still think of J.R. Ewing and Dallas, especially when they brought the show back and then Larry Hagman died. I was like, oh, man. Anyway, sorry.
Oh, yeah. It's like when I was getting married and people were coming from, other states, they're like, do you have paved roads there? I was like, yes. So we have paved roads. You're so funny.
I'm from Kansas. Everybody sees, like waves of wheat or corn in a barn every now and again. It's not like that. We have cities.
Yeah, we got cities, restaurants, and
Oh, we got tons of those. Let me tell you, more sushi than I can afford to get. Sadly,
that's why we got sushi buffet. I don't know about you. In Texas, we have sushi buffet.
We just got one of those. It's like a smorgasbord. My friend was just telling me about it. He's like, "You gotta go."
Oh yeah, sushi heaven. Someone asked, "What do aliens feel like?" And I know that's well, which one? Where do you want to start?
The ones I've experienced many different species now, and it's more of an alliance. What I can tell you is this: at first, something that I spent a lot of my time interrogating them, trying to find out who they were. Even though they told me, and the Christ consciousness type of an energy would come with them, a love energy would come with them very much. But they seem to be much more concerned about Earth than they were humanity. I even got told, you
mean like the planet itself, as opposed to what's living on the planet?
Yeah. They said the free will zone, humanity can annihilate itself. We won't stop that.
Okay.
But it will not be
allowed. The planet.
Yeah, it will not. No, Kelly, they told me we would not be allowed to destroy the planet again. And they gave me a decisive flash of what looked like planet Earth circling our sun, and it looked like a burned out cinder.
Okay, so tell us more. Keep going. Wow.
I can remember coming here what I thought was maybe the first hybrid project ever, as we would know it. But now I'm thinking maybe that was the second one. I don't think we know how many epics have really been here. Because I remember this being a type 1 civilization. I remember coming here. I remember the project with the sons of men, the rounded skulls. And I could see it, it didn't make sense at first. It took me almost a lifetime to try to figure out what I was seeing and why I couldn't get rid of it. You know what I mean? But I think we need to start looking back how far this Earth actually goes back. And they showed me that cinder, and they said it won't happen again. So that's what I do know. And the first ships I saw were also giving what we call Merkabahs, were giving energy, sharing energy with the Earth. So that's kind of what I can say. So I know they feel, and the amount of they definitely feel love. The ones I've dealt with, but I haven't encountered grays or reptiles. I've dealt with different beings from the multiverse.
What do they look like, or do they just project an image that makes you feel comfortable? Do you have a sense of, are they like a big puffy cloud of energy?
That's a cool question. That's a cool question. I'll tell you what. I had to figure out underneath regression, because I had forgotten that a lot of them didn't have bodies. I've seen insectoid type of beings. Not mantids like that. They didn't look like that. All right.
They hold you down. You'll know if a mantis being came, because they hold you down.
That'd be terrible. Very few that I've had that will even identify where they're from. I ask, one Andromeda counselor, they were little blue beings. And when I say that, that's as close to something that looks like a gray that I've seen. And when I say blue, Kelly, they were maybe like 2 or 3 feet tall. They were little. And they were very blue, and they had on blue looking like racing uniforms that were like some type of a fiber optic material, but they were little. I've also seen some beings that are from the multiverse. In fact, the guy that I deal with is Mana is his name, but he's got, it looks like his brain is on the outside. Their brains are on the outside, and they have circular large eyes. It stands about 9 feet tall, I'd say.
Oh my
Seen a mother of hybrids that was not, wasn't a gray. It was looked more like what the artist Christine Dennett calls the pepperheads. She's got that on her website. A couple of them look like these pepperhead things. She said her friend had encountered. I'll tell you this, on the first ship that I got my first regression for, and that was only about, a few years ago I got my first regression, because
and now that's with Mary Rodwell, right?
No, I got one from my town. I've got a doctor that's here in the town I live.
Oh, okay.
She did it. Yeah. Here's the deal. I had 4 experiences, 3 of them that had someone else that involved a total of 20 hours of missing time. With somebody else, 16 hours. And I tried all types of meditation, I got some hypnosis certifications, tried to self-hypnosis, and I could not retain these memories. So I had to go get professionally regressed, like down to the theta level. But the first time I had a physical experience, I was about, oh gosh, almost 19. How can I say? On board the ship were these eggs. They look like eggs, these partially metallic eggs, and on the outside it has like a glass of a type, and inside of the egg is this type of I'm sure you've seen
are causing some memories to come back. Oh my gosh.
Well, check it out. Inside of the egg is
That's
this
familiar
mist,
to me.
that like milky looking mist, like what Shakespeare called the time of the mist. It looks like that in there. Okay, so first the regression, I'm thinking, okay, it must be a power source of some type. But I start getting, the regression is she's got a skit to go through because I want my money's worth, man. And she said, what are you doing right now? And I said, I'm looking at this egg. And I keep going around. They're periodically throughout this ship, all right? And some of them are big, some of them are smaller. And these lights start coming to the edge of the glass. One of them blue, one of them certain ovicle, different lights are coming there, and I'm starting to touch them. They're moving around my hands, and you start hearing me saying, "What now?" I said, "Well, they're alive. The lights are alive." And
I called them incubators. Is what I called them.
Well, I
didn't know a word.
Well, I always make sure I wasn't getting exposed to one, virtual reality technology that was getting tricked, and number two was ever getting assaulted because I didn't think so. And so there being other beings there, and she's like, "What are the other beings doing?" I'm like, "They're looking at the egg," and but not as much as me, but they're observing the egg, and even to the point of where they're trying to get me to help them. And I start, when you're there physically, the dimensional difference, I get sick. It's like being on a merry-go-round. I don't like those machines, and I want to throw up, like a gravity G-force thing. All right, these lights come out of the tube and attach to me and start helping me. Okay, and I even saying they're displacing my time field. They're helping me. I didn't understand the reason why the other crew members that are slightly out of phase are standing around these eggs. These eggs, the beings in there are like the commanders. I want to call them hierarchy, but maybe that's not a way to say it. But they're definitely like your commanders, all right? And when you think I'm on a multidimensional ship with multidimensional beings, you don't think of it like that. I mean, you go on the bridge. I was in the room thinking, where's Kirk? Where's Sulu? Where's Spock? Yeah. It's,
they're in their eggs.
Little stations. Yeah, little stations not like that. It's these eggs. And then even more to the point, I've been on a pure consciousness vehicle in a different experience, which is where the bridge, whatever you want to call it, was what our scientists would call micro wormholes. And in front of me jumps like a light being, like almost turning into colors, almost like a flower of some type, like unfolding. And then Kelli, it jumps into one of these wormholes and it comes back out. I mean, really quick. And they're telling me we can't exist in your dimension very long at all. So
when I have to keep leaving and coming back, coming back.
Well, when I'm out doing these like exercises in fields when I was a little younger, like one called the Gate of Power, based on a shaman technique, like the Great Walkers used. Anyway, what it does is shut off your internal dialogue so you can kind of access your consciousness. All right. I didn't know that's what it did at first. I was just trying to use it to learn how to run through fields in the pure darkness. But anyway, tell me about it. But anyway,
I've seen a movie like that. Be careful.
Oh yeah. Well, when that stopped, I would see these things that they call wisps. These are light flickers, and they look like fireflies. They go out really quick. But in the middle of January, that's not what you're seeing. It's not fireflies. All right. I didn't understand. And after that, I start seeing, some crafts after that in the field. I didn't understand these were crew members. They're coming in and out of the portals. Do you see what I'm saying? That's why they go out so quick. They can't stay here. It's like they burn out. They're like fish out of water when they're here. And just because they're higher beings, these guys, I'm saying, where are you from? When they're telling me, they say sometimes you won't understand. We're from 900 light years out, the 16th dimension upwards, beyond the spectrum of nanospace. You don't understand. Oh, right, I don't. Focus on our second and third bases, our bases on the second and third planets outside of Pluto. Now, when I was in the 5th grade, that, excuse my language, that kicked my double AS, because wait, the planets outside of Pluto, there's no such thing. And they told me your technology hasn't discovered that yet either. So this is going back to late 70s. And now what? In the 2000 something, they found trans-Neptunian objects, which are like several planets outside of Pluto, or planetoids. I had forgotten that even Pluto has a moon itself. But they're, sure enough, they're like 5 or 6 objects out there that are a little bit bigger than Pluto. And they were telling me about that. They said that's on the spectrum you don't know about yet either. So dealing with all this as a child, was kind of a little bit rough. I mean, not bad, but it will dominate your life in terms of you can't think about anything else.
I was over here trying to find pictures to show you, and I think I made all of them private, and I don't know how to look them up quickly. But when you were talking about the light flashes, like there's a difference between I can see they're usually about this big, and they can be blue, red, yellow, green, black. Now the black ones, the colored ones tend to be all kind of similar. The ones that are black can be very, very black and just like you've drawn a circle, or they can be what I call fuzzy and gray. And they look fuzzy. There's, all kinds of things that I see. There's one thing, and maybe you can shed some light on this, because I've taken pictures of them and I was trying to find the picture when it happened. I've taken over 1 million pictures, probably up to 3 million at this point, of orbs. So I'm really good at knowing what is mist, what is rain, what is smoke, what is dust. You can figure it out. And the ones where all of a sudden here's a face and it's got horns and all that inside the orb, that's not dust. So this is like on the level of, I took so many pictures. You get so familiar with what's what. Now, some of these, and I need to go back and try and find these pictures. I only have about 12 1 terabyte hard drives I've been through in the past 3 years. So I'm going to have to go back and try and find these pictures. There's so much storage, I can't even tell you. But there are some that will come, and it's not like a ball, and just like the green and blue and red ones, that it's like white. It comes in the form of what I call the old fashioned, well, I guess your camera's still flash today, but it reminds me for some reason more of like the old fashioned bulbs that have that flash. Yeah. That's a quick flash, because now it's more of a little bit of a prolonged flash. It was a little quicker in the past. So there'll be a flash of white light. Whenever I see that flash, it's one of two things. They're either there to help you or they're to kill you, is what I have found out. And if you feel not startled, because like, I saw a flash. There, the difference between being startled and feeling pure evil, and I will kill you. There's a difference. I have felt the ones that it was like, this wants to kill me, or something else. This is very bad. When I see the white flashes, and I call them almost like, some of them are in the form of like flash, like a camera. Some of them are like what I call Christmas tree lights. Would that go on, off, and they're tiny and they're gentle. Some are like that. So there was one time I saw it to my right. I was outside my backyard taking a picture, and it was like to my right, and I felt it at first, like pure evil, like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Then there was a flash that came to me. It was the biggest flash I'd ever seen. So I took a picture of it, and I got this entity that looked, and it's shaped almost like a light bulb, that's bigger on the top and gets smaller on the bottom. And it looks almost like a light bulb. And I've seen other ones that to my eyes, like when I see it to my own eyes, my physical eyes, it looks like a camera flash. But the picture I took was like a solid of a light bulb is what it looked like. And then I've taken pictures, the flash was not as big, and they were like smaller ones. Another one that I saw, the twinkling lights, when I took a picture of them, and I need to get oh gosh, this is going to be a search mission right here, trying to find these pictures.
We've been having technical difficulties the whole time. No one understands.
Yes. So these, it almost looks like it's like 3 lights together that you can tell it forms one body, if you will. You've got one that makes up almost like the body part. And then you've got two on either side that almost look like wings. And that's when I take an actual physical picture. Now, those to me look like little tiny Christmas tree lights that go on and off to my eyes. But to the camera, they look like a middle section with, you know, two wings that are kind of like separated.
Let me ask you a question. The wings you described, were they more like defense shields kind of around the thing?
It's possible. I can't find the freaking.
You know, the angels I saw when I was on the other side, they weren't corporeal at all. They were light beings, pure light, but they had these things around them that looked to me. I'm a Star Trek guy. They looked like defense shields to me, and I can see why people would, I guess, paint them with wings, but that's not what they actually were. And then outside of these shields, it looked like when you see your steam, like on your shadow, or like a mirage during the summer when you see the water on the road that's really there. You see the steam heat coming up. That was outside of these shields with a little steam. I could see that, you know. But I mean, they were, real deal.
So you're saying these are entities that I was seeing?
Oh no, you just described similar to what I saw that was angelic.
Oh, okay.
But the others, what you were saying, you kept describing a large flash, the larger one, not the double one, but the large one. You know, I just thought on top of everything else, I think combine this, you may also be seeing rips in the space-time continuum, rips between dimensions. I think a lot of these ships that people are seeing that appear to be light ships aren't just pure conscious vehicles, not just ascended masters that have come back that have used their light bodies in that way, but they're also sometimes rips between dimensions. And if you look at, you know, I myself, when I went through a regression, I've seen, or before that, I've seen these bubbles, so many of them that it was supposed to be creation, and they were straight from source. So that implies that not just quantum theory, that there's so many I think they're all universes. Some of these orbs we're seeing are not just people inside or beings inside. They're separate universes, I think. And I think we're intersecting more than what we believe. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I'm right, but I think it's another part on top of everything we just said, that it's a tapestry, you know? A big one, apparently.
Now, this is not it at all, but I'm just trying to give you an idea. Okay, I called up one video of mine, and see the one that's bright, not the big one, but the smaller one? That looks like almost like the center part of it. And I'm just trying to, because I think I made these videos private, and I don't know how to get back to that channel, because I didn't delete the channel, but I kind of made everything private. It's on it. But that's kind of what the middle section looks like. It's almost like a little bit bigger at the top, then it gets kind of pointed, but not as much as the light bulb. It's more like that, a little more elongated.
Question. Did it all kind of remind you of an amoeba? That one?
Amoeba?
Kind of, you know what I mean? Like a unicellular, like if you looked in pond scum, you could see all the thing like the flagellums, you could see the amoebas, you know what I'm talking about? I'm just taking it like in terms of things we call rods right now. You know rods?
I have tons of pictures of what you call rods. I don't know what they are. But
don't they look a lot like flagellum?
They do. Yeah, they do.
There's a thing that they call those cosmic critters. I used to try to work with these cloud busters and orgone energy devices, and I was trying to bust up nimbus clouds, and it starts charging the water negatively. So my friend and I started taking pictures, infrared, ultraviolet around the machine. You start getting these weird looking things that are trying to devour that energy. Did you find it?
I think, okay, let me see if I can okay. Like here's, sorry. Okay, now this is not it, but that resembles, for some reason that's like a double one. I'm not sure why, but that resembled, oops, crap. Like this kind of resembles it. Only this for some reason is doubled. I think when I took that picture, it doubled itself or something, but that's very similar to it where you've got, well, that doesn't look like it at all, but where you got the one in the middle and then the two on the outside. That reminded me, because they get like bigger at the top and more pointed at the bottom like wings do. And it just, I don't know what they are, but I took a ton of pictures. And then there were some where the orbs would come up, and you'd have these orbs. You take pictures of them, and it would be almost like a chunk was out of it. Like you take a cookie, and you take a bite out of the cookie, how you would have like a half moon or a partial moon bitten out of that cookie. And there would be a group of them that would have like what I call chunks taken out of them. And it's like, what is going on with that? I saw all kinds of orbs that there are ones that look like, okay, I know this sounds gross and it really doesn't look like this, but let's say you took intestines and intestines from another dimension, and they were kind of more fluorescent, and made of light. And you took them and kind of wound them inside of the orb. That's kind of what they look like. And the ones that look like that, they will have doors that open that are rectangular. And the rectangular door, it almost looks like it slides open. And once it opens, smaller round orbs come out of it. It's almost like, and I don't know if it's having babies or what, because the inside of those that the ones come out of, you can see that there's something in them. And then once it opens, then these small ones come out, and then it looks what I call empty intestines, see-through intestines that are coiled in a circle. That made no sense at all. Sorry.
No, I actually it does. I think you're describing, to be honest, those cosmic critter things. I think right now there's been a bunch of talking. Are they archons or not? What everybody's calling them right now. See, now you see that looks more like it could be an amoeba type of thing to me. The thing in the middle, you see it? That looks to me more like a nucleus.
Okay, now that's actually, that was an entity that I kept following and taking pictures of that night, and it kept moving around, and it happened to be in front of an orb during that picture, but it kept moving around.
What kind of vibes do you get from most of these orbs and things, these lights?
Oh gosh, it's hard to tell, because when I was doing it, there were so many things going. I'm kind of a scientific thinker, and I like to separate things out. If you have a headache, don't take 5 different things at one time. Take one thing, see if that works. If it doesn't, take one thing, so you'll know which one worked. So I had so much going on, I don't have a clear understanding, because I did the human Ouija board thing and went outside and just said, whatever's there, let me take your picture, and never told them goodbye. So I had demonic type entities. I take pictures of orbs and with entities that have horns. Some were coming out of their heads like this. Some were coming out of the foreheads and coming around like a ram's horns. Some of them had pokey things all over their heads. One of them was,
you've got certain types of reptiles that are described as that by Credo Mudua. He describes the Chitalahua, that he calls them, but he describes the different classes of them and how we get actually our depiction of the devil. How some of them have the horns that come, but he described them coming out elongated. I think he talks about one that the horns they kind of wrap or something, but they're also tend to look they're reptilian in nature. I try not to get too much into that with people, because some people telling me my lover's a reptilian and this and that. Okay, I don't know, but I just prefer to avoid them for whatever reason. My vibration doesn't seem to go with theirs, and I think maybe there were the ones that are from Earth here that were here before Homo sapiens might be the more dangerous ones, because I think they have a right to this place. But when I see the Earth, the cinder around the sun that I told you I was shown, I think they had something to do with it. Maybe why they're not here in control anymore.
And when I talk to Peter Maxwell Slattery, he talks about all kinds of races and all on many different levels, that some of them come to you in cartoon form. Like they look like, and I have seen those in orbs, their faces. In fact, here's, you cannot see this. This one is the cartoon one. This is so blurry, you cannot see it. But here's one of the eyes, and here's the other eye, and they're drawn like a cartoon, and it's a cartoon face.
Okay.
Now I've seen these with my own eyes, not in orbs, but I'm just trying to find a picture to show you.
Those that's what I've heard them. They're calling them now cosmic critters. They're called that a lot. That's exactly what this is. That looked like if you got under the microscope and looked at some pond scum, you're going to see stuff just like that. When I told you these things were gathering around my orgone machine, they look like that. I even posted some that a guy named Trevor James Constable wrote a book called Cosmic Consciousness. And what he was doing was building a bunch of those cloud busters, and he was having the same thing. So I posted on my Facebook a lot of these pictures of these different amoeba things he was seeing. Some of them were at a phase, and he could focus them more with an infrared film and ultraviolet camera. This is back in the 50s. So, right now we're using infrared a lot, and people are seeing these wars and things going on up there. But that appears what you have right there. Now, this is interesting, and I don't know where I'll use your intuition. Right now, you just mentioned Peter. Peter and I have been talking a lot about these amoebas and these things like that. And are they what him and others are currently calling archons, which I just call demons myself, but whatever.
And that's the overall feeling, because you were asking me, how did I feel when they were there? I don't remember specifically, but almost the whole time I felt yucky and bad things were happening to people I loved. And it was awful.
You described something else I picked up on. You kept describing before you started showing me the pictures. Some of them looked like they were bitten. You're describing a predatorial ecosystem where they're eating each other, and some are getting bit. They're having war wounds. You know what I mean? Think about it. That's a predatorial deal. And we so often, Kelly, we want to think that as humans, because we have our great concrete jungles, we don't have any true predators when we do. And they lie just beyond mortal vision. They create these situations in our lives that make our emotions go erratic, and they start feeding our negative emotion field of negative emotions. I just got through talking to people about the Hat Man and the cloaked man, the cloaked people are seeing, the shadow people. I believe, when I knew that was going to come to this, I knew it was. It's been taking us back there. When I first started trying to do all these different meditations and Kelly, I was trying to have an astral body projection. That's what I was reading that book you had there. That's a long time ago, the Kundalini book. I was trying to have the OB big time, and I couldn't get it. I kept trying all this stuff, and I went to a mostly vegetarian diet, and I started seeing auras around people and biofields. And that was inadvertently. Then the next thing I started seeing were those shadows. And I could only see them at first out of my peripheral. Most people don't remember that or know that peripheral is black and white. That's the way you can see spirits more at a peripheral. I'd see them moving, and some were circular, some were kind of ovular, And finally one day I saw one that was ovular moving. I could almost track it with my normal eyes. And I see it going attached to my coworker from her crown chakra down to her root chakra and start pulsing. And she's bowling. I mean, she's bowling those things so hard, and I can see her energy changing. I said, Trish, is something wrong? She said, I think I'm just stinking thinking is getting to me. I said, well, this thing's feeding on her. And I started with someone, and I started looking at others. I didn't see them around loving people, which means they can't eat that frequency, all right? They can't consume that type of luminosity. And then next thing I did is start praying to source. Oh, please, I don't want to see that. I want to have astral body projection. I want to see some auras, but I don't want to see that. No more shadows. So started doing some protections, and they went out of my frequency. That wasn't my deal. But sometimes we have to be aware of that. We have predators here, and considering that we're trapped in a cycle of incarnation, possibly on a prison planet, we're being food for these predators again and again. You and I just talked about a last feast. To kind of do analogy, I kind of see it like a huge ranch, a huge ranch with like probably 1,000 cattle on it, and they've got about 4 ranchers. And then the cattle are starting to become sentient, cognitive and sentient. Those 4 ranchers got a big problem on their hands. And I think that's maybe what we're seeing between humanity and this archons, negative inorganic beings, whatever we want to call them, demons. I think we're seeing that part of that war. And I think that everyone that's an experiencer right now, like you and I, need to be aware that the way that they're manifesting right now and the portals they're using to get to this dimension is through our own pineal gland, which means a lot of these beings are starting as negative thought forms and then manifesting through our pineal gland and using that as a wormhole to create abductions. A lot of them are using abduction as screen memories. I don't know how many of them are grays and how many of them are just straight demons using the extraterrestrial scenario, abduction scenario as a screen memory. And the whole Zeta Reticula thing to a certain degree. Not all of them. I know that's a real deal too, but that's a easy auto-suggestion, an easy screen memory. When I did one of my regressions, I did it specifically to see if I'd ever been exposed to holographic technology. And I had, but not for the ways that the others have been. And it's just to give me a frame of reference. And they started telling me the dark forces use this technology to deceive people. And they do it rather easily. And I thought, my God, that makes total sense.
Wow.
It's
like in the middle of this, I'm trying to, I'm sitting here listening to you like fascinated, and I'm having malfunction after malfunction. I can't even get into Google to even try and get to these pictures. I think it's on purpose.
Yeah, and we know when you do get to them though, take them and compare them to amoebas and unicellular.
Oh, I'm very familiar with amoebas. I mean, I went to International Science Fair with chemistry and all. So,
wish I could do something like that.
So yeah.
And it's how many different beings do you channel through that amethyst behind you?
How many do you feel? Because I don't know. There's quite a few, and there was one where it actually it physically, like, there's a video. It was on video where all of a sudden this orb appeared, and then it looked like it got sucked into, or it went into that amethyst back there. So were you feeling something?
It's gonna sound crazy, but I get things. Things are pulled from. They pull things from my mind. The Council of Nine and that book, The Earth, the Only Planet of Choice, and that crystal, big time. It's coming through. The Council of Nine keeps coming through. From the zone of cold. The Council of Nine is from the zone of cold. If you get the book called Earth, the Only Planet of Choice, it's a channeling, which I sometimes steer away from, but very interesting enough. There's individuals that are asking the channeler questions who are the Council of Council of Nine. And one of these people asking the question goes by GR, is how he's abbreviated in there. That's Gene Roddenberry, and it's long before the original Star Trek. Just this little thing. Good book. Anyone might want to look at it. But for you, and through that crystal especially, comes the Council of Nine, because they've been around you a lot. Because when you first started kind of changing your format, you posted a picture of a very large amethyst. I thought it was that one for a long time, but this one is like the size of a person, right?
Yeah, I think I went to like a rock show or something and was showing some things from the rock show.
Do you remember when we first became friends on Facebook? I sent you a picture. I said, this reminds me of Kelly Coffee. And it was a huge amethyst that my picture taken, these two little girls that were standing inside of it. Mm-hmm. Same thing. Council of Nine, Telosians, Inner Earth deal. Yeah.
I know since I've gotten this, everything has changed.
Well, certain times when you were having problems and the shadows, whatever was happening, it started lightening up, I could see, and it changed the frequency behind you. Especially there's a piece in the middle that glows quite a bit right down low there.
They're calcite. Wait, it's calcite, right? Because I'm not 100%. This right here?
Yes, that piece.
Yeah, I think it's called calcite, or whatever grows with the amethyst, and it's actually like clear energies and all that. And there's a piece right here. There's a piece of calcite. You can't see it very well, but it's right here. And that's like, I apologize. My husband is out weed eating, and the dogs don't like the weed eater, and they're barking outside my door or my window. Sorry, but it looks like
the shadows that got chased out of the house either.
It looks like it got sucked in right there.
I think your dogs were the shadows that just got chased out, probably. Because I didn't want to tell you when you were trying to point at that. I was getting all these glitches over here. I didn't say anything. You're pixelating big time, man.
I was? Oh my gosh. I'm trying to find that video of that orb. I don't know if you've seen it or not. There it is.
My gosh, this has been interesting. I didn't think this would be like this at all. This is kind of cool.
It's like, what the blank was this? I was like, I'm so nervous about the interview. I'm like, really?
No one knows who I am. They're probably saying, that guy's nuts.
Okay.
Let's see.
Here's okay, now look, it's right here. Like it just suddenly appears, and then watch what happens. I'm sorry,
I see it.
see, it just got.
Yes.
And then here's
Yes.
okay, here now you'll see it appear. It just suddenly appears.
I see a face. Right now I can see a face.
And then look at that. Look at that. Boom. I know.
It looks like somebody looking in from the side, kind of like that. Kind of looks like somebody looking like that. Ah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's
Do
like
do you have any Atlantean crystals or anything like that? It's odd because I'm getting. Are you aware of the planters, the cedars, as they used to be called?
Well, I'm not into names and words, so if you describe like a feeling or an energy signature, I might know what you're talking about. I'm sorry.
Beings that planted crystals here that were involved in the cataclysm.
Oh, okay. No, I don't know about a cataclysm, but I do deal with entities, and I feel like I have knowledge. Well, I do have knowledge. I don't know how to tell it to other people, but I know how to. No, when I say crystals, I don't mean like these crystals. I mean like crystal cities. Like I've already built my own. What do you really possess? But I already built this last year my own crystal city. So I don't know if that's what you're talking about, though.
No, but I'm familiar with that.
Okay. What are you talking about? I'm trying to. Oh.
The planters were the cataclysm I'm referring to was Mu. When the crystals, the technology went awry. But some of that involved crystalline technology also that was like solar charged, magnetically solar charged. Some of them blew up from the inside. So you'll find some of these crystals are burnished in the middle, like these quartz crystals. Oh. Normally larger ones, but the planters were beings after the cataclysm that planted some of these into the earth, waiting for some of us to reincarnate to drift back to us. Does that make sense? I'm seeing people that are starting to get some of these crystals now. So
it feels right, and I'm starting to be drawn to areas of this world for some reason, and it's really hard to explain, and it's not necessarily ley lines. Now, the ley lines I want to go visit just because I want to go visit, and get like plugged in, like, and see what that's like. But there are certain areas it's like, why do I want to go there? There's nothing special about that area, but I feel so drawn to it.
It's a power place for you. You're attracted to it. And so often we think that we have to have these systems or this particular way, ley lines. I've seen so many different ley lines, supposed grid structures to this planet. It's unreal. But I think there are power places everywhere. And we just have to find them through our own discernment. And some of that may be connected to our past lifetime because we don't know how many times we've been here once again. So you may have lived there or had doings there that is drawing you back. And right now it's those synchronicities like that are bringing us awake, fully awake,
I have to apologize. I forgot people were listening to us. They have been steadily writing questions over.
Oh, I thought no one heard you. I was like, that guy sucks, man. Who is that? I figured nobody had any questions for me.
We're not alone.
I've been kind of sweating that the whole time. I was like, man, not even one person had one question?
There are probably about 50 questions over here. It's completely my fault because when you started talking about stuff, and I apologize, everybody. We will have him back on. I apologize because, you were talking about stuff that was so deep. Like I didn't even think about this stuff. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. If this is not your realm, just say nope, Kelly. We'll move on to the next question. Hey Kelly, have you noticed any of the recent? This is directed to you. Recent galactic wars going on because of David Icke and Sam Muggsy have recently been talking about 6 billion benevolent alien UFOs who are bombing reptilian and gray bases all over Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto, and Uranus. Does that ring a bell at all?
Saturn. Sam Muggsy's a friend of mine now. I did a show with her about a month ago, and I've been working with her website ebh.club. I'll actually start doing articles on there as soon as I get some type of computer skills, as you saw today. Anyway,
yeah, we don't talk about that. I'm glad to know I'm on the same level as another person on this planet.
Oh, you were helping me. You're way light years ahead of me. Believe me. It's like you're Han Solo. You're Han Solo. I'm like,
you know, get out and come back in. That was the help I gave you. Turn the computer off.
Don't start making me laugh. I forget what I'm talking about.
Your car's not running. Did you fill it with gas? That's the level of help that Kelly is.
Yeah. Oh, that's all good. I'll tell you what. The Galactic War. From two different standpoints, we'll tackle that one. All right. One would be the way that Sam and others are describing it, which is real on more of a physical level. All right. She recently sent me a clip of these red ships like that are over Arizona. A lot of people saw a couple of days ago. She said that's one of her contacts that actually looks more like the Hindu god, the elephant. Anyway, so
don't
that's
ask
what
me
she's
names,
saying.
but I know who you're talking about.
I can't remember either, but I mean that's her being the type of war she's seeing going on right now. My friend Bill, that has that book Beyond Watching, he has taken pictures with his technique, and he's got a lot of what appear to be crystal ships that are going against these shadows, more or less. And that, I think, is a war. I think that part of it is already done. I think there's a time lapse between whatever war is going on and what we're seeing. Okay, then I'll take this a step further. The beings I've dealt with, okay, they wouldn't give me names for a long time. So I was in my 30s, all right? And when they give me a name of this alliance, and they're not like, so what I'm start saying, are you the Ashtar Command? Are you the Galactic Federation? Are you the Alliance Free Worlds? All that crap, you know. They were like, no, we're a different frequency than that, and we had to step in because they were losing. What do you mean they were losing? The forces of light were losing in your solar system. So I didn't know what that meant, okay? And
that's one reason I came back. I didn't know it at the time, but yeah. Well, and that's why I put out that suicide video as well, because the ones that came to change things were going to kill themselves. And a lot of them are still here now. So, yeah, wow. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And, you know, I didn't. That's the whole thing. I didn't think about this whole this system to trap immortal souls and to wipe us clean. And it starts going to that black goo stuff, the X-Files, the super soldiers. It's going into all that stuff. I couldn't believe it. And the amount of ways that we're being tricked. So in that way, that war, well, we just described the negative thought forms and things like that, and the way that they're able to get through these micro wormholes. We don't have any federation that can stop everything. We have to help ourselves. You know what I mean? So I think right now the war that's going on is these holographic installations that are around this planet that are keeping us asleep. Okay, and it's going away. They're starting to destroy some of them, obviously. I think that's what Sam's talking about, because more souls are incarnating now that can remember who they are. People, just normal people now, are starting telling me, you know, I think I lived before. They're getting turned on to things that are so much more spiritual and open than what they were before. I think that's the fact that some of this net is maybe not totally coming down, but there are holes in it.
I call them glitches, but yeah holes.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of the thing you and I were talking about just by typing a couple, like last week, that you had posted and I posted at the same time, the holographic moon. I prescribe to all that, but I think we're definitely seeing a projection in the front that allows us not to see the structures that are really there right in front of our faces, you know, and you can see it starting to glitch sometimes, like you just said.
And science, if you look at Crow 777, he actually films those waves that go across the moon.
Yes.
That I guess you call them holographic waves.
Yeah. His stuff is good. He's good. He puts up the good stuff. But hopefully maybe that answers that a little bit. And, you know, that kind of contrives to, that goes back to the moon also. It goes back to the resurrection technology you and I were talking about, the black boxes used to store soul energy. It goes all back to that kind of, and I think that's tied together into this war that that person is referring to. Excuse me.
So I was almost at the end of the questions when you got finished. I was trying to star the ones. Oh gosh, all your questions are really, really good.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah, they've got like, I think there's about 70 questions.
Well, I think anybody who's listening to me, thank you.
About the alien technology and tube technology, how can a person know for sure if they are still in their own body or if they're in a clone body? Does that make sense?
Wow. That's a great question,
And if you don't know, just tell them what you do know.
This will be my suggestion. All right. Name one. The ones that I had heard described, experiences that described it and that saw this being done to someone else, they were told that no one would ever know that this wasn't the same person in a different body. Okay. Number two, I would think maybe for reasons of identification. I don't want to piss anybody off here. This is just food for thought. I don't have any implants with all the contact I've had. If you do have implants, is that not just a way of tagging someone, but is that also a way of generating virtual reality scenarios to the person? Like, Kelly, do you remember a movie? I was a kid. It was called Looker. It was a cheesy '80s movie where the guy looked like Tom Selleck. Kind of looked like Tom Selleck. He had a gun. He'd flash it, and the person just be standing there, and they were using it to like kill models and stuff. They called that gun a light ocular oriented kinetic responses gun. And what it did was use a flash of light to keep you you miss time. Now, when I go back to about 87, 88, we had these things at the mall that were called virtual reality machines. You stand in them, put the helmet on, and it just went out kind of when Sega came in and Nintendo came in. But nonetheless, what happened to that type of technology? If we take that and advance that by 500 or 1,000 years, people are going to have a hard time coping with it. I would advise, for me, not just the tube technology, but just to know if I'd been exposed to this virtual reality scenario technology, I had a regression done for specific that to see if I had been giving any screen memories and go down to the lowest level of my consciousness. That's the only thing I can kind of advise for that, or otherwise I'm probably not educated enough to tell anybody.
I'd like both of you, what you think about alien ships who are near the Earth, but a few planets away, and who are keeping tabs on us to eventually literally enslave us. I think there's a better system than that.
I think the net that we're talking about is a much better system, and it's much more subtle to entrap us than that. I do believe concerning that, though, there are many races out there that are not involved in here, but they are waiting for humanity to give up its stewardship of the Earth, which we're very close to doing right now. A lot of them feel like we don't belong to be here. I mean, come on, even if you come from a society that's like what they portray the Jedis to be in Star Wars, you come down here, you're going to be like, oh, my God, look what they're doing to their own bodies. Look what they're doing to their biosphere. Half of them are killing each other. I mean, you would want to immediately, waiter, check, please, go back home. Kind of, right? I mean, I didn't understand what some of these, the beings I was dealing with that didn't have corporeal bodies were saying, we can't stay there. It hurts. It's painful. I had one of them telling me after they get out of the Stargate and get into this solar system, they start burning before they get here. This is a light being telepathically telling me that. That's not even how science goes. How do you burn light? It's a density thing. I don't think we get it. Does that answer that, or did I go too far off? Or
I just, this is free. They get what they get.
That was inspiring. Thanks, Kelly.
You never know what's going to happen on the show. But we are talking about technology, whether it is physically in that form or other dimensions or whatever. We have the ability as creator beings, and I think that is why they're trying so hard to keep us asleep and keep us dumbed down, because we can stop this. There is technology, and you're explaining technology in other dimensions. You look at technology in this dimension that you can alter when you go up into God consciousness outside of the matrix, and then you can mess with it. You can mess with computers. You can mess with all things in this dimension. So if you can do that, of course, you can go into other dimensions and mess with technology. Now, I went to the moon and blew something up. I'm not saying go blow something up. Follow your heart. And if you it says blow something up, to blow something up. If it says, send them love, send them love. But disabling this technology that has all of this, well, if you do have a chip, you can disable that chip. You are able to, by going into, some people call it higher self, God consciousness. You go into that state and you're able to disable this technology. What we're going to attempt to do very, very soon is disable the moon, at least enough to where people will wake up for possibly a short period of time, because that they have time technology. And they can go back in time. If we destroy some things on the moon, all they have to do is use the time technology, go back in time, fix it, and it might appear that nothing even happened to us. But there might be that 1 second where people wake up and go, I know, and then go back into their bodies. But then that starts the process for some people of, wait a minute, I need to question things. Yep. Wait a minute, I need to do things differently. So that's what we're doing, because I've already disabled technology. I've done it just myself and just me. And I've done huge things just myself. Think if we got enough people together and did things like that. When they had that superstorm, it was myself and a group of people, and we were all we were so disorganized and doing things different. But I went and remote viewed or astral projected. I can't tell the difference. I see it. I'm there and I see it. The moon, there was technology on the moon that looked like archaic technology, almost on the level of tanks that we have on our planet here. It doesn't really look space age, but beams come out of them. And there were beams going into this storm. There were also ships that were stationed around the planet that were aiming beams at it. So what my intention was to do, some of the ships, I just blew the ships up. I blew them up. And the ones that were on the moon, it was like, something rotates this way, that it was rotating clockwise and counterclockwise. I froze it where they were not able to use the machines. So for the period of time that I was focused on disabling the machinery, stopping it, freezing it, locking it up, blowing up some ships, when I was doing this, the superstorm looked like it was going away. It was getting smaller. It was starting to dissipate. And then I think about that time, it was bedtime. And when I went to bed, and what happened after that? It got bigger, and it took over the majority of the United States and did a lot of destruction. But I know it's possible to disable their machines. So all you have to do is do it just enough to make a difference, to wake everybody up.
Question. The beings that you saw on the moon, you didn't describe what they looked like. What did they look like? What you saw? Were they grays, hybrids?
They were gray in color. They were gray. They were not like, okay, when you think of grays, you think of the little short ones that, have no genitalia or anything like that. These were human size. They looked more like human bodies. I didn't have a chance to look at their hands or their fingers, so I don't know what they look like. They had big, huge heads, like bigger than the small grays. Really big ones, and they had more human-like features to their face. Not completely, but it was more human than the grays. So to me, that was a gray human hybrid. They had on jumpsuits, almost like military jumpsuits that were a little cinched at the waist, just slightly. The room that they were in looked like, furniture from the 1950s on Earth, in like military style that was in the office. And the only thing high tech was the door slid inside of the wall when it opened, and you didn't have to push a button or anything. It was like going to the supermarket, how you walk towards it and it opens. That's how their doors open.
And you got a bad feeling from them?
Well, they started to come after me.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I appeared kind of like high in the room, like up there where the ceiling meets the wall. I appeared like up there, and they immediately, because they weren't looking at me, immediately they turned around, like, because they knew I was there. They turned around, they started coming at me with their hands. Like they had their hands, and like they were coming at me. So I popped right into my body, and I was like, ooh. How did they see me? Then I found out later, the explanation was basically they're in another dimension. So since I was in another dimension, they saw me. We were pretty much in the same dimension. So when I went back is when I blew it up. It was almost like a supernova effect. I blew up that base. And those two guys too, I blew them up.
Yeah, that's
I was like,
exactly
got mad at
what
him.
Swan said. He was up there looking. They saw him too. He described similar beings, I do believe. Definitely. Wow. Now, when you saw Comet L9, you see any life forms or just the crystals and the ships that are escorting it in itself?
That was a long time ago, and I'm trying to remember all the details of it. I don't remember seeing entities or creatures at all. I don't remember any with that one. But I was just looking at it from the outside. I didn't go inside and look and see if there was anything on the inside. Just on the outside is what I looked at.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it was not what they were saying it was. I know that.
Yeah, somebody's got is some question that's supposed to be. Somebody have a question that you've been looking at that's something like that. I keep getting a question like number three, third, three, something three.
Okay, that was my next one actually that I was going to ask you. it was three. Okay. It was three down.
It's important to someone. You know what I mean? I don't mean a person either.
What do you think the pyramids are? Engines, storage, monoliths? What are the pyramids?
They are installations. They're not just geomagnetically aligned with certain stars and things. There were also installations that were used to protect the technology that the sons of God, as we were called then, were using. Okay, and this is a technology that was able to transmute energy into matter and matter into energy. Okay, and it was actually fueled. These devices were fueled by, like that book you have there, by Kundalini energy in the spine, runs in our spine. Okay, you had to be an initiate of a certain vibration to use any of these instruments. All right, these installations would protect them, those currents that would turn things different. Now, when you had these hybrids, these Nephilim, whatever you want to call them words, when they finally gained initiation to the temples after Mu was destroyed, and in the Egyptian times, like the first dynasty, when they started gaining, I'm sorry, before that actually, they started gaining initiation, they started gaining access to these technology, and what the energy that we run that is Kundalini, our divine will, their carnal natures emerged and selfish deals, and it made those technology go awry. That's what destroyed Mu. You know what I mean? So that's what you have anywhere. When Mu was destroyed, like the second cataclysm that destroyed it, you had the sons of God that went to several places. Some went in things that were similar to Venema craft, others that had things similar to what you would think looks like Noah's Ark, things that could stop this tidal force that was destroying things. And when I give a reference of this, I think a good movie reference is The Never-Ending Story. And if anyone really looks at that, what the actual nemesis was in The Never-Ending Story, everybody says it was a rock guy. No, it wasn't. It wasn't the rock guy. It wasn't the flying dog. It was the nothing. And what the nothing was doing was dissolving Fantasia into pure energy. Remember? That's kind of should be looked at a little bit, you know, and also going back to like a Star Trek reference. People should really pay attention to, especially the original one that had racist Ricardo Montalban in it. When he played Khan of Space Seed, but what they were saying about them, they even remade that for the newer one. They were genetic. They were basically hybrids. They were eugenics and bred in a certain way that they couldn't control the carnal nature of them as well. And they took over the world, didn't they? And they got kicked off planet, basically, right? That's quite similar. And when I see certain, after I had already passed, all right, certain other hybrids that popped up in later dynasties in Egypt, I was way before that. You have ones like Akhenaten, he's got the elongated cranium, you know, and others did not. And you see traditionally in the first dynasties of Egyptian history, these elongated craniums, all right? And I think it's relative saying I've always had a problem because I know that I had to use my melanin to also wake up more stuff. I remember being melanin dominant. And when I first started dealing with ufology, all I see is blonde hair, blue eyes, Fabios, Christy Brinkley. No one was talking about melanin dominant extraterrestrials. No one was talking about the past. You know what I mean? And that got frustrating for me a little bit. But eventually I met a being that was Caucasian, and he was either interdimensional or extraterrestrial. No way around it. So we all go all around. You know
We
what I
got the
mean?
Klingons.
Yeah.
Klingons are always my
Yeah.
favorite.
Yeah. Too bad every brother that was on Star Trek, except for Geordi the Forge, was Klingon. You ever notice that? And he had to wear that thing. So it's like, just kidding. Well, not really.
Yeah, I love the Klingons. I don't know what it was about the Klingons, but I just gravitated toward them. I even learned some of the Klingon language.
Well, it's there was a guy in the town I lived that got in trouble. He got a bunch of time in jail because they found his kids. He had them in a trailer, and they'd not been out of the trailer. They're like feral kids, but they could speak Klingon. He couldn't even speak English. He had all these Klingon books everywhere. So the cops are speaking. They're speaking Klingon. It almost sounds like a joke, but I swear to you, it's a real story. Anyway.
I was in love with Worf growing up, so just sue me.
In love with war? Is that what you said?
No, Worf.
Well, that brother's cool, man. He was.
I was just like, I had a crush on him.
I liked his brother, Candyman, Kurd. I like Kurd.
He kind of scared me a little.
He was a strange one.
I thought Worf would have my back.
Yeah. He had a different way of discipline. That's what he said.
Yeah. It's a good day to die.
Yes.
Now, on the never-ending story, you were talking about the nothing, turning things to pure energy. The way, maybe another vocabulary, another way to look at that is the nothing was they stopped believing. They stopped dreaming. They stopped believing. And that is basically, because someone asked, it's about 50 comments down, what is the universe made of, or and all of that. This is kind of a part of it. What we're living right now is because of thought, and because of we are creator beings. We are actually creating this that we are in. When we stop creating this or stop believing, it goes back to energy, which looks like it disappears. But it's just creating this reality is done with thought and done on purpose. So that's kind of how the universe is. So if you stop believing, it stops being created and it stops existing. But yeah, it goes back to just pure energy form, or pure energy without form. I guess that's a better way to put it.
Hey, something I'll elaborate on, I think a little bit too on the pyramids. There were certain devices, like the one in Egypt, the Great Pyramid, I think was not really, this is the way I remember it, so I can't say it's for sure everyone like that, but it was also to pull the water from the artesian well that runs underneath the Nile to inundate that delta. It inundates it like once a year, but water was a problem. So you also had a water purification system there. And at the top of the system, in the capstone, you had several devices like the Staff of Life, that could actually control weather and things of that nature. That's what some of those instruments were. Later on, before the Sons of Men, the round-headed, like Napoleon went there and pulled the nose off the snake and all that. They knew they were coming. So a lot of that technology was dematerialized, and the last initiate took it out of Egypt, to my knowledge. All right. And I think that would have been the individual we call Moses, because the staff he had was like the staff I used to work with. And it had levitation abilities. It had holographic abilities, throwing it down on the floor, it's turning into a snake that eats the other snakes. That's holographic technology, And I'm sorry, I'm going to bring this up. I don't want to upset anyone. But
I do it all the time.
When we start talking about resurrection technology, we need to put a whole new look on the being that they call Jesus, all right? In terms of how he was conceived. Number two, when I read that book and I see he showed up, the people went to the tomb to get him or to see him after he'd been, you want to say assassinated, crucified. Same thing, I guess, isn't it? Anyway, any representative of that consciousness that comes down here gets treated that way, murdered, basically. When they go to the tomb, he's not there, but when they're leaving, an angel comes down, talks to them, which they don't describe what that looked like.
Of course they don't.
Yeah. And then after that, he's standing out there and he's glowing. And when they tried to get up close enough, he backed off or something. He would let him touch him, right? Then he made several appearances. I'm sorry, I have an aversion to every organized religion. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm not an expert, but I just try to check out what I can.
It's okay to paraphrase.
Yeah. When he showed up to eat with them the last time, they said he had those holes in his hands from the crucifixion, but he ate and he let them touch him. Now, to me, I'm seeing a hyperbaric chamber, somebody in a healing chamber, because he was almost so close to death that even that technology couldn't hardly bring him back. And then when the holographic part was done, he could show up again. But I think we're dealing with this thought of resurrection technology, which is the one I heard is the one that really got me is the lady's on a ship, okay, experiencer, and she sees a mantid there. And the mantid, and on the table is another experiencer, okay? And the mantid goes over and reaches into this gentleman's chest and pulls out his life, his heart, literally, and with some type of technology, and it's already cauterized, she said. And he tells this woman he's got a problem with his heart, and he's very important, and walks over with this box to another container, and there are all these clone bodies there. And she said one of these bodies looked like this gentleman, but a few years younger. And they used this box to transfer his soul energy into this clone body. And they said, because there's something wrong with his heart, we can't fix it, but he's not done with his task here. So we're going to replace him back in this clone body, and nobody will even know it's not him. So when we deal with that and this resurrection to technology, we have to look at the individual we call Jesus and the resurrection, okay? Just food for thought once again, but throw it out there, you know? And being someone who remembers the sons of God being here before he was even here, I know there was another one to come that was even higher up than us that was supposed to liberate the sleeping survivors we talked about and help here with the genetic upgrade. And you see how he got dealt with. And I think we need to be more realistic and going back in the past instead of expecting any one person to come back and save us right now. When you got Jack like that, guarantee he was castrated like black men have been throughout history. And would you be in a rush to get back here?
No.
Wonder why they're waiting 1,000 years?
No, thank you.
You know, but we need we need a bridge for the love God consciousness. And I think that is the bridge that works for some people. You know what I mean? And that's not for me to judge. So, you know, but as far as a person, we did have one here. Resurrection technology, yes. Throw this in real quick. When I was looking at that super soldier thing, you have a gentleman that was at the basis 18 deal about a few months ago. And he said he was some type of one of these super soldiers. He started describing these clone bodies that.
Is it the one?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Alistair, is that Alistair? Is that it? Alistair, I think.
Probably.
Yeah.
I've got a connection. I'm going to see if I can get an interview with him.
Yeah, it looks like he just got done probably.
And I can't remember his name.
Yeah, he looked like he just got done with a good night out on the town. But man, he was kicking some serious knowledge. But when he started showing diagrams of this tube machine that he said traps immortal souls that have just left their bodies and gets them to inhabit these super soldier bodies, because they can clone these bodies, but they can't get a soul into them. So they trap. I mean, that to me sent shivers up my back. I had to turn that one off after that.
And that's real life. This is not multidimensional. That's real life in this dimension.
And Kelly, I used to love the X-Files, the first season especially. But, you know, I didn't pay any attention to when their eyes go black, the black goo that was supposed to be the grays when they weren't in their bodies. They're like this sentient fluid. Even in the last Smallville series a few years ago with Tom Welling, they had Brainiac on there. Brainiac was like some type of a crystalline, quasi-crystal black liquid. I mean, I didn't pay attention to that. And I certainly, until the guys are saying, hey, this is real, you need to be aware of this. I couldn't believe it. And I'm finding out this black goo is somehow connected to this net we're talking about too. Have you gotten that? You said something one night at one of your shows. You talked about that. This type of blackness that is coming over the planet, and it's like
that was now it's not a goo state, but this I don't know what to call this. A membrane. I mean, I did a lot of science experiments with like semi-permeable membranes, that's what I kind of equate this to. But like, if you think of the Earth as a ball or sphere, it's hollow. There's a lot of stuff that is hollow that people don't think. I agree. This is hollow, but around that is like a ball is around that. That's just if you think of a basketball, there's nothing in the middle of the basketball. So it's like a ball surrounding the Earth, and it's made up of something that's like looks like sunglasses, like this material. I'm not saying it's this material, but it's like this color. And so it's a light filter, a reality filter. It's so much that I don't think it's something in between dimensions. I don't know, because I've gone in between dimensions and it looks different. It's almost like it's black in between dimensions, and this was see-through. So when you're on this planet, you go, oh my gosh, it's like, not today, there's clouds, but when it's the brightest, sunniest day and you've got a spotlight on you and all that, you think, oh my gosh, this is so bright out, it's hurting my eyes. That is nothing compared to when you pop out of that membrane or whatever, when you die. When you pop out of that membrane, it's like, holy crap, because everything is made of light. And you see that this earth was, you have no idea how suppressed you are on this planet till you leave it.
You're talking, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, he did that thing with Rudy Shields called Quantrack. When I first started looking at that a little bit, he started describing when he actually went out of the atmosphere. And he said, the first thing I know is when you get out of the atmosphere, out of the, away from Earth a little bit, you see that there's so many stars connected together. There's almost no space between them. And I could feel each one of those lights was connected to an individual cell in my body. That was a heavy statement. That's a heavy statement. And we talk about Akashic records and everything coming to us at once. I think that's why a lot of those astronauts aren't really telling people they can't remember what the heck they saw out there, because the pure melanin of space and are trying to adjust with that through our pineal gland and trying to deal with the cosmic rays outside of this atmosphere, I think is almost more than we can take, let alone how it degrades brain tissue at a rate or whatever.
Now here's I guess a physical example of it. Like if I go outside, like I'm in Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, so there's like 15 stars up there, and that's it. That's all we've got. I go see my mom in Clovis, New Mexico, and it's like, where did they come from? They're like everywhere, because there's no city lights and all that. But just imagine going outside and putting this on and then looking at the stars. What you just said about what the astronauts saw when they left the atmosphere, that makes sense. It's almost like you have sunglasses on when you look up. Even when you go out in the country and you see multiple stars everywhere, it's still, like you said, it's not bright. It's, there's so much that you cannot see. And it filters. It filters what you see so that you can experience this reality. Another way to look at it is light spectrums, because this filters out certain rays and not others. You get some in and some not. That's kind of how this membrane is around it too. That it filters some stuff out so you can see some things and not see others. So the star and there is a how do I put this? It's not just being in another dimension. But this somehow, because you just said, I could feel all the stars connecting to every part of my being or my soul or all my cells or, what. Yeah, something like that. Like, I think there's a technology, if you will, because we're in a video game. This is technology. I think there's a technology in that it's like, I'm not connected. This is like, you're not connected to anything when you actually are. When you die, this. When you die, you touch every single molecule or everything that exists in this universe at one time. You touch it. You're able to touch it. So it's like all the stars are actually you. That doesn't make any sense, but I think you understand what I'm talking about.
Well, like Dr. Degrassi says, we're all stardust. That's correct. You know what I mean? That's absolutely correct. Well said. Well said. And I say again, I think the way you describe the death process and that small time when we leave the body, we're adjusting and gaining access to universal awareness, how those vultures come at that time. I think that's a very, very valid. And I think that learning that we have guardian or seraphim angels around us that help us with this process. And probably they can't get to us immediately either till we adjust it a little bit. You think? There's got to be a lapse in there. Those cats are coming in. You know what I mean? It's very interesting. Yeah.
To encourage people, because everybody's like, well, I don't want to wake up because I'm going to be attacked. Because you know that my dog was poisoned. But as you raise in frequency, and it's like, okay, I'm up here, and I know, and this doesn't mean superior to everybody else. You guys know what that I'm just going up in frequency. That's what I mean. As you go up in frequency, you have a more of an understanding of what this video game is, and you don't take it quite so seriously. And I'm not saying I did not grieve for my dog. I'm not saying that at all. But working with Dwayne, he helped me heal my physical issues, which was my heart. So when I was sad and grieving over the loss of my dog, it was more from an observation standpoint. I still went through the emotions, but it feels like the emotions were out here. They were not like, ugh. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. When you get some shocking news, it's like, ouch, it hits you in the chest.
Yeah.
No, nothing physical. My emotions and everything were out here. So I was able to control them better and deal with them better from a logical standpoint. So I don't want people to think like, oh, I'm going to raise up in frequency and my dog's going to die and all these bad things are going to happen. But those things are going to happen anyway. I mean, that's kind of a part of being in this reality is stuff dies. You know, and it's going to die, and it might be part of an attack, but just always remember that that was your dog's time. Even though it might have been part of an attack, your dog only meant to stay here that long. But you have a better understanding. So don't be afraid of raising frequency and being attacked, because then you have the knowledge of what to do with it. Dwayne and I had a talk yesterday about he's getting attacked technically with his technical stuff and some other things. And I feel like I am too. But both of us like, man, shake it off. You know, let it go, shake it off, and keep going. And it's not so bad. It's not as bad as you think it is.
You know, and another thing is that to be aware that we can protect ourselves. And, you know, and it starts not just asking for assistance and protection, but also realizing that our thoughts are like warp fields, and you can kind of combine them, you know what I mean, to expand things. And you can actually change your reality in terms of what is attacking you, and they won't get near you. You know what I mean? But we have to be able to project our intent of will. Once we learn how to do that, how to focus and concentrate a synergy of will, everything changes for us. You know, right now, just so much of our energy is absorbed by just taking care of our family and trying to get to work and pay our bills, that very little is left for the other side of it, of awareness. You know what I mean? Very little for the other side, where death lies, where near-death experience lies, where sleep lies, dream state, all these things. You know what I mean? And it's designed for that here, though.
And I'm seeing my vulnerable points, if you will, is where I'm being attacked, because they can't come and kill you. They can't come and hurt you. But if you are like, oh, I'm under stress, so you start eating sugar and all that, and then you lower your vibration and all that, and then you get sick and you get illnesses. That's how they do it. And you should be kind of happy, because it exposes your weak points on what you need to work on. So they will try to, because your frequency is so high, they can't get to you. They can't get to you. So they try to do stuff around you to lower your frequency so that they can get to you again. Because they cannot possess you or get inside of you or do anything without your frequency being lowered.
Or their main way to get to you also is the beverage often known as spirits. And what kind of spirits? Certainly not good ones, but it is what it is, you know. You go to a tavern of spirits.
that will lower you so fast. And I don't know if you call it a vibrational lower, but it does something to you that opens up. Okay, it's like, I'm protecting myself. Once you drink that alcohol, it opens up. And it attracts the most negative beings. And that's when I see these little, I call them stickers. They're about that big around, and they stick to not the back of your neck, but kind of like on your shoulder and your back, like back there. They come on there. Some of them look like a little fog, little dark mist on there. But once alcohol comes out, that's when you can be possessed easily, or these things attach themselves to you easily with the alcohol. Spirits.
The Toltecs used to call them flyers. Yes, you're right. That's exactly what I was describing with that one. You know, the one I saw was a little bigger. It was a shadow, but it was ovular, but it attached here, just above her head, crown chakra, went down to root chakra. and it started pulsating, you know, and but with my physical eyes, I could see her just getting pissed, man. You know what I mean? And yeah, and it was just feeding on her. I mean, it was so obvious then. I said, my God. And I started seeing sometimes out of my peripheral, several of them like kind of hovering. So they're plotting. Shadows are plotting, you know, but I think that the morphogenic field of Earth has gotten dark enough to where they can use that field to start manifesting into these other forms that we're more familiar with. The Hat Man, the Hood Man, you know what I mean? All these things that are forms that we have that we have framer for. That gives them more energy to get from us. You know what I mean? And the fact that we're just in the cycle of reincarnation, we might just be food again and again and again. That has to be broken now. You know, and I think
when you see them, you don't see them as they really are. They see the form, you see the form that they project. Like typically when I see it, well, I do see some mist and I see those things, but I'll look like, okay, it's not exactly like this, but an octopus-like creature that will it will drill into the back of your neck and it will go down your spine, but it will also wrap around your head. With its like tentacles. So that's how the ones that get me really, really bad they appear like that to me.
Wow. Oh man, that, you know, that
have you seen those before? Like octopus looking one? Oh, they're not octopus. You watch alien movies, like they come out of your stomach and they like you know, they go in your mouth and stuff. Oh, it was the back of my head. So it's not octopus, but it's more like an alien. You know?
Well, I'll tell you, you know, something you're bringing to mind. One of H.G. Lovecraft's books called From Beyond, and they made a movie about that probably in the 80s. And From Beyond, he had built the scientists had built a resonator that resonated the pineal gland. And when you turn it on, they start seeing these things all over the place, these like shadow fish looking things. And like the one dude's going, "What's that?" The guy grabs him, "Don't move. If you move, they'll see you when you're within the field and they'll attack you." But anyway, you know, that's another one of these things. And I believe what you have pictures of there are these things, we just call them amoeba-like things. But Kelly, I think that with the technology we have at current level and whatever level they're trapped at, I think maybe that's the way they appear in this dimension physically. But in reality, and that over there, they're like these shadows and things. But I think maybe that's kind of their deal there. Maybe those, Peter and I talked about that a lot, are those archons. I believe there are. And I say this based on that. Those are predatorial creatures. We see that. And I'm not trying to tick anybody off, but look, when I look at this ecosystem here on Earth, all the ecosystems here, I see it, they're predatorial. Big fish eaten by bigger fish on up to man. But it's predatorial here. And I think it's fools for us not to think that we get out of the body that the universe is not also predatorial in nature. And there are beings out there that are devouring luminosity and awareness. They don't have other ways to get it from source, so they're trying to take it from us and keep feeding themselves or take our awareness, period. And, you know, oftentimes I've heard it said that death itself wants your life memories. And I know the ancient shamans and others spent a lot of time doing recapitulation of their life. Every second meditating and bringing that energy back that we've left everywhere so that we have a full life memory. And when our body quits functioning, death touches us and takes that recapitulation and leaves our main soul life memories intact. And I believe that people like, it was Castaneda, called it the Great Eagle, and said that when we die, we go into the beak of the eagle, and the beak takes our life memories. For you and I, we just describe that as a membrane, a net, and all the things we're talking about. You know, you can correlate these things to different cultures, and you know, especially those that have dealt with near-death experience, and even the Bardo Thodol there, they talk about those levels you can get trapped. And you nailed it good. You said Christ consciousness, but then you don't go higher. That's one of those levels there, and you get so blissed out there, you're getting so many blessings because you are a good soul. You've done good things, but that can stop you and create a level of stagnation. Like the Q, they wanted to go higher than what they were. They could even die. Anyway.
Oh my gosh, Barry. I think this might be the longest interview I've ever done because
I talk too much. My mom said
no,
that she passed.
I would have cut you off. I wanted to hear more. Please come on again. If you guys want Barry to come on again, because I'm over here, I have to seriously apologize. You had so much information. I could not get to everybody's questions because they're going off in all areas. I mean, I'm just scrolling through here like a touch screen. Holy crap. Yeah, there's probably about 80 questions. Oh, no, it refreshed. There's more.
Are you serious?
There's about 90 questions over here. I feel so bad. They are so hungry for this information that and it is completely this is not Barry's fault at all, guys. It is completely my fault. I did not get to your questions because I think what was coming out needed to come out on this interview. And I think needed to lay a lot of groundwork for when you come back and start then going off. And none of these questions were bad. It's just that I think they were too specific that it would take away from the general idea of what you were trying to convey. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you hate on anybody in the comments, hate on Kelly for not answering.
Don't worry. I have no problem answering questions. I'll talk to anybody. They're not like demonic and stuff or they're like that, you know.
These were the most, I mean, my peeps are the most intelligent peeps on the internet. They are. And they ask the most intelligent questions. I
watch some that are awakening. Like I have some friends I've met through you, like Gabrielle. She follows you a lot. She's a young starseed, very much awakening, and you have a lot of young ones that are following you right now, and that's just wonderful because you're giving out good information. And what came out today, it wasn't what I expected at all.
Me either.
But I mean,
that was not on my list of questions.
Yeah,
it just happened.
You know, the good thing is though, it's giving people awareness how not to be attacked. And if they are, they know that there's ways to get past it, to beat it. We're not helpless. You know what I mean? So we could be protected. We can get past it. But the first step is awareness. Knowledge is power. Definitely. In this case, definitely. And give us enough knowledge so that we have the discernment when we encounter one of these traps to be able to avoid it or beat it. You know what I mean? Like a bear trap, you don't want to go up extend your hand in there all the time. It's just go snap on there.
Yeah, and I don't, if some of this scared you guys, I am really sorry. It's not supposed to, because I remember with Christianity, and I was just so fearful of demonic attacks that I stayed in a state of fear all the time, and I was attacked all the time. So we don't want to put you in a state of fear about this, just to let you know that we handle these. When these entities come, we just handle them and take care of them. And I'm not afraid of another attack. I know it might happen. If it does, I'll just handle it. So you need to kind of look at it that way. You know, stuff happens in life. You can't waste your life being worried that it's going to happen again. And you got help.
Yes, agreed. Well said. Well said.
You got help. Any final words before we leave, everybody?
I just want to say God bless everyone. Thank everyone that's trying to help this planet and that are trying to fulfill their dreams, especially in terms of awareness. And God, don't worry. I'm already traumatized. Don't worry. Make me feel like some.
I'm sorry. It was the
Rodney King. At the end of your interview, I become Rodney King. They're gonna get me. No, I'm just kidding.
So now my dogs are howling. So I'll put you on mute.
Don't worry. One of Peter's show, I already have a guy that sent me a reptilian after me with an anal probe, but I got away.
Okay, this is not an attack. This is what's happened to my neighborhood and why we want to move. So you hear this stuff all the time. No, this was not an attack.
I was just kidding around.
This is just Thursday.
I got a friend. He says that everything is an attack. It's an attack. You know.
Yeah, there's some people that everything's an attack, and you go, what did you do to contribute to some of this? My car broke down on the side of the road, and there's a demon attacking me. Did you change your oil?
Yeah, exactly. Bingo.
You know? what did you do? Did you maintain your spark plugs? You know, this is not an attack. This is you being irresponsible with maintaining your car. So you need to look at whenever you feel like you're attacked, go, how did I participate in this? And it might be that you are being attacked and you participated because your frequency was lowered. It could be as simple as that.
Yes.
So, I'm sorry, I interrupted. But sorry.
Oh, no, that's all right.
Okay.
I would just say this: the young people, the people I'm seeing coming forward, there are a lot of dreamers, And I say that not as in spaced out people, but dreamers in terms of they're lucid dreamers. And when we experience another dimension, another reality, the one we just came from, as beings of awareness and perception, we experience it as another dimension. So don't be so quick to write it off and say, I was this and that, it's just a dream, but it might have been another reality. It is of some type. And I'm having a lot of people talking to me that can lucidly dream. I'm not. I have to act a certain way to get enough energy to free up enough that I can dream lucidly and have dream attention like they do naturally. So these new ones are coming in, they're natural dreamers, and I think it's great. You know what I mean? It gives somebody like me that wasn't a natural dreamer hope.
Mm-hmm. And some of us woke up early, and I think you were one that does it. I mean, if you're not okay with telling your age to everybody, it's okay. But do you mind like a general idea of how old you might be?
No problem. I'm 22. 22. No, I'm just kidding. I'm 40.
Okay, and I'm 45. So I was born in 1969. So I
Good
think
year.
I woke up early.
Yeah.
I woke up early and I had a tough life. And I think I did that. And I came here early so that when the ones were just waking up like this, that there would be someone like me, someone like you that's here to go, hey, I've been through that.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay.
Yeah, and I know you were probably born away, Kelly. I was like that always. You know what I mean? I couldn't understand my aptitude for science and stuff like that, and it's born awake. You know what I mean? Like your stuff's so switched on, and most of us are. You know what I mean? We're coming from the other realm. I believe that when they first slap a baby and it starts screaming for the oxygen, it's not just the slap and the oxygen. That their eyes open up, and you just coming from the celestial, and you start seeing this density. All you can say is, "Oh my God!" It's got to be painful for a certain degree. You know what I mean? But then we can still see, we still have all of our natural psychic abilities switched on, despite this net we come through. But then every adult we come into contact with, the first one that comes up, goo goo gaga, it's programming us, not just to deal with this third dimensional reality, but also to put us to sleep.
Yes. And there's I can't get to it right now. I don't know where to go to it, but it might be like a Red Ice Radio or Veritas, one of those. And it talks about the birth process and how the birth process is designed to keep you to introduce you to the world of sleep. Because what do right after they tell you it's for the good of the baby? What do? They put was it what is that stuff? Mercurochrome? No, it's not. What is that stuff they put? Is that what they put you in your eyes like right after you're born? So then the baby would have been. It's like babies can't see very well for a period of time. Why not? Because they put crap in their eye. So here they're born being able to see, but they put stuff in their eyes. So at least 3 weeks or more, they don't bond with the parent. They can't see their parent very well. So and just the whole birth process. It starts your process of being brainwashed and controlled and put to sleep.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's
everything is super defined.
I know it's just non-ending. You know, the amount of insidious plots. I mean, this is insidious. Bottom line.
This is so organized. People cannot believe how organized this is. And it's not that these doctors go, I want to keep everybody asleep. No, it starts with the institutions. Who created those institutions, learning institutions in the first place? You see what I mean? They're only following what they know. You know, they're only doing what they know. So you can't look at a doctor and go, they don't. Doctors don't even know what they're doing. They're players, but they don't they're not aware of how much harm that they're actually doing.
They don't know. That's why I stand up for traumatic brain injury. Not just that I met people that have had one and it changes your life. I mean, if you even survive it. I had 4 at one time, and it to a point of where they told my family that I would most likely be a vegetable and yada yada. They thought I'd die, but when I didn't, I mean, nothing they said was correct in that way. I know someone look at me now going, why is he the way he is? Well, don't listen to me. It's a near-death experience. We don't hear what I really got to say. But you know what I mean? But,
that's right. Well, I mean, doctors told me my whole life, these were the best doctors in the world, Dr. DeBakey and Dr. Leachman. Dr. DeBakey invented the very first artificial heart. So, these were my doctors. And they were even telling me, that, there is no cure for this. My heart things, I had an enlarged heart, had holes all through the chambers, and it beat wrong, irregular, and too fast. And it's just like, sorry, that's the way it's going to be. And my heart got fixed about probably 8 years ago or so. I fixed my heart through nutrition and meditating and stuff like that. And it's completely fixed. People who have emphysema. Oh, you can't cure emphysema. Yes, you can. You say there's a little bit more to it than this, but it's basically MSM. Don't ask me to pronounce the big long name, but it's MSM and vitamin C cures emphysema. And you can't cure cancer. Yeah, it's called hemp. So there's so many things. You can't fix cavities. You have to get your cavities filled. Oh, really? I'm fixing my own cavities with nutrition. And, with just a wash of like tea tree oil and whatever else is in there, and your cavities are healing yourself. So don't ever let anybody tell you there's something you can't do or something that can't be fixed or can never be cured. Don't ever, because what happens is then you set in mentally and you own it. Mm-hmm. So.
Well said. I've noticed something. You have quite a way with words, don't you?
No, I'm a third grade mentality. And I forgot to ask you about this because I was walking one day. We were trying to, this is the longest goodbye ever. Isn't that a book, The Long Goodbye? So I was outside walking, and, I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and we have at least 2 international airports and 50 other miscellaneous airports all over the place. So, every 30 seconds or less, there's an airplane flying right over you. So I'm very familiar with airplanes. So I was out walking. I look up. It's like airplane. No, something's different. I look back up. And this is what it was. It was a triangle and a rectangle, and they were not attached. Like you could see the sky and the clouds through it. So at first I thought it was an airplane just because that's the only thing in the sky, right? They're airplanes that was roughly shaped like that. But then when I looked up, it's like, there's no wings. There's no wings on this. It was making no sound at all. And so Rita said, you might know, not necessarily what this was, but she thinks there was a technology that either this was pulling this or this was pushing that. And she said you might be familiar with the technology.
So you said it looked more like a cloud. It's more of a cloud. It wasn't a physical craft.
No. It was well, when I say physical, it could have been a hologram that was not see-through, but it looked like it was actually there and physical. It was white. This was white and this was white. But what I meant was like you could see the clouds in the sky between in this gap. So I knew that this was not attached to that. So as it was moving, and there were clouds up above, I could see some clouds flowing through in the blue sky in that area. So she thought maybe this was something that was pulling this or this was pushing that. So I didn't know, but it disappeared in 10 seconds.
It's interesting because what I'm getting from it is not fitting the premises. All right.
Okay.
What I'm getting from it is it's very much like one of the ancient monoliths in terms of this. Anybody got on Google Patents and looked up human full body teleportation device. All right. I mean, I don't know the patent number, but it will come up. All right. Full body human teleportation device. If you look at the diagrams of that, all right, you've got a couple of pillars involved in that look similar to what you drew right there. And that kind of goes together with
oh my gosh, you're right.
Yeah. Like the Montauk Project, and what the guy did that
oh my gosh, like where that cylinder is or that donut, it was blank. It looks just like that, only there was no donut on there.
And what's interesting is the guy that made that, he says only will teleport you probably a block or something, but nonetheless, it looks like the Montauk Project, and the Montauk Project has those same pillars that went to them also. They also had like a sound chair, but the other part was something similar to what you have right there.
Okay, now is this? I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah, that's it. That'd be it. And there's another part of it that makes the that look even a little more monolithic like. And take that and cross the Montauk Project with a lot of monolithic structures.
Okay, how do you spell Montauk? Is it Monta?
Tauk, I think. If that doesn't work,
Montauk. Okay.
Peter Moon and Preston Nichols probably did the best talk of it I'd heard, but I'm no expert on Montauk. But Montauk has the sound chair and these other monolithic structures. And when you look at ancient sites, you see them quite right. You see it? You get it?
Okay, no, I saw something else. Oh my gosh! Like, is this interview ever going to end? I apologize to everybody. Holy crap! I've never had an interview like this ever. Okay, now you see
that's a trip to me. I can't believe you're saying that to me. I can't believe I'm even talking to you like this.
You're so funny.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, like this, and I know this is probably, it says Esoteric Library, the Montauk Project, or whatever. But although it's not exactly like that, envision something very similar to this. But there's not trees in the background. It's almost like a mountain or whatever. It's on the mountainside, and it's kind of like this. And this opens up, and that's what these barrels were coming out of on the moon and beaming stuff to planet Earth. It's not exactly like this. This just reminded me so much of it. Oh my gosh.
You're describing a scale.
No, this might be like just another angle of it, but this is what I'm talking about. That was on the moon, and they had machinery coming out of that and beaming it at the Earth.
You know, you need to see that book, Someone Else is on the Moon. So, I don't care if it's from the 60s.
I'm going to start by that.
But you know, if you can see some of those tractors and things, he's got installations that look a lot like that coming out. Somewhere, I've even seen some recent pictures of the moon that have something similar like that coming out. And they're saying, is that not a machine? Yeah. In fact, it might even be Space 777 or that guy. 777?
Oh, Crow.
Yeah.
His is more. Well, I don't know. No, he is the Crow. It's CRROW 777. I'm going to see if I can interview him. But he is more on the. Okay, I am purely scientific, and it took a long time and a lot of data, and other people were corroborating it, and then he finally came out and said all the evidence points to a hologram and holographic technology and all of that. So after he did all of this scientific work, he only recently came out with what he believes that it is, if that makes sense. So I don't think he was the one that was talking about all of this. He's a very scientific person.
He's kind of like a Richard Hoagland. You know, I like Richard Hoagland's his book Dark Mission. Excellent book. You know,
I'm writing down so much.
Oh, that's cool. Richard Hoagland, Hoagland, and if you type in him and Art Bell on YouTube, a ton of videos or radio stuff will come up. And he talked about so much stuff and so many different mooncraft that came up missing and things like that. Oh, he's an interesting guy, definitely. They tried to discredit him, but it's pretty hard. He used to work for NASA, for crying out loud. At JPL also, I believe he's a consultant. So.
Wow. How can we end this interview? Oh my gosh. It's just every time you talk, there's something else comes up. This is the magic that happens.
That's really cool.
We need to just say goodbye.
You had no idea how nervous I was to do this. I'm glad it went so well. I've done a few now, and I was more nervous about this one than any. I was like, man, Kelli has a lot of good people that watch that. What if I screw it up?
I have fantastic people who watch. I mean, these are some of the most highly intelligent people on this planet that are with me. I mean, you have to be to follow this stuff to understand what's going on.
I know what you mean.
But the intelligence, they came. The ones that are I call them my peeps. my peeps are the ones that came here to change this planet. And you have to have a high amount of intelligence in order to do that.
Yes, and gumption and heart. Got to have a lot of heart. You know what I mean? This existence is not for the faint of heart. That's for sure. Is it?
No, it is not. Like next time we talk, I want to ask you about your ideas, because there are a lot of things that happen surrounding my birth that I feel like my body is not. I mean, yes, it looks human and everything, but I think it was designed a little bit differently. I'm adopted, and there is a question as to who the father is. With the adoption, there's no clear understanding, and all the stories don't match up, if you know what I mean. And so I was basically a 10-month baby. I was in there for 10 months. And when I came out, I was only 6 pounds. And I had the heart problems, you know, when I was born. So I've got a lot of memories and things like that, that I feel like there was some, and I don't know on what level, that there was some intervention from above, if you will. I don't know on what level.
You know exactly what happened. I'm talking to you. I'm listening to you talk. And,
Okay.
and before you even, as you're saying this, you know exactly what it is. Like,
Is it that I don't want to think that?
Well, I mean, no, because it's far out. It's far out. You want to think that probably the fact there's a reason you can't find out who your father is? And there's a real reason, and that he wasn't from here, like, you know?
That's kind of what the way that all the numbers add up. And when you talk to everybody, things don't go right to me being made the human way, if that makes sense.
And it's interesting because we've talked about several things during this interview that would almost correlate to that. We talked about something called super soldiers, which is something I didn't believe in until just a couple of months ago. That was forced down my throat. But also, you know, certain beings, and you know that the government also, or I won't say that word, certain agencies have ways of tracking people that have abilities also. And there's certain ways that we can try to do eugenics and DNA encoding and a lot of things. So maybe you should think about that. I think so. You're here doing a very different, specific task. You have a certain energy, all right? You're gravitating to certain things. You were born very aware. And for you, I would go so silly as to say something like, I don't know if you ever watched Highlander, the series, the show.
Was it the guy that cut people's heads off with a sword?
That's it. That's
it. Oh, yeah.
You know,
the quickening.
Yes, the quickening. Yes. I think we're in the quickening right now. Definitely. Yeah. You know, but in that way, those immortals, as they are, they're just they're foundlings. They're called foundlings. They're just found. No one knows where they come from.
You know what's really
who their parents are.
How many people say I'm going to live to be 700 years old? And it's like, where did I get that idea in my head that I'm going to live to be 700 years old? Now, I might get hit by a bus tomorrow. You know, you never know. But
because you live that way, you live that age before you got in this atmosphere and start getting bombarded by the cosmic rays. Since the firmament fell around this planet during that cataclysm I spoke of, and that flood that they say is not exactly what it was, but when the firmament fell, all the cosmic rays and ultraviolet rays start coming in here and burning us up so much that we lost stature, we lost started dying of age really quick, and half of us seem to die of a type of cancer which is little more than radiation poisoning, in my opinion.
Or an energy, the energy that's not flowing properly, which is radiation does that too.
And you know, just to say that your father may not have been from Earth doesn't mean he wasn't human, because humanity is a lot more than just biology. Real quick, I spoke about these beings real quick that I call the charters. And
charters? Okay.
Charters, yeah. And I first got approached one when I was about 6 or 7. He approached me, all right? And he's a gentleman. I was with my mother, who's very protective of me, but she was an antique collector. And she takes me to this store, very boring activity for a kid. Antiques? Anyway, in this store, there are books and some rocks, all right? I was a rock collector always. I like gems and minerals. Anyway, this gentleman approaches me. I thought he worked there, but he didn't. And the first thing he comes up to me and says is, "Young man, do you think igneous rocks are metamorphic by nature?" And I looked at him and I said, "Yeah, but it takes millions of years and that sucks. It needs to be immediate." And he started asking me all these geology questions and things like that. And I mean, who do you know that comes up to a 6-year-old kid and says something like that? He knew something about me. 7 years old. He knew what I was into. You know what I mean? So that's nonetheless, he's a Caucasian man, but every 7 years, an individual like this has stepped into my life. And it's a brief encounter, okay? They come and say something, they're gone. And if you don't have the discernment for energy and you can't feel them, you'll miss it. And Kelli, the only way I can describe them is this, okay? They're humans, they have to be. But I can tell you this, the only way I can describe them is this: their energy. Heck, we all meet some people that are really exciting and they're just kind of energetic. That's different. Their energy pushes you a little bit. And when I say it pushes you, it's not an assault, but the only way I can describe them are as people is if maybe we don't destroy ourselves the way we might be in about 5,000 years if we keep progressingly spiritually and technologically the way we are now, or in a better way. They feel like people from the future. And I say that based on their vibration and based on their telepaths. I'm a strong telepath. And the ones I've met, I couldn't shut them out. Like the star beings. The star beings come in on you. You can't shut them out, really. I guess you could get rid of them, but I mean, I can't anyway. I mean, it's just too strong. You know, and I've met one that's a female. Every 7 years, they seem to come about. Since I spoke about this on Peter's show, a lot of people started coming forward and telling me, you know, I met someone like that in a bookstore. And a lot of times,
like,
a bookstore.
You saw me go like this, you know, when you were talking a while ago, because it was bringing back memories throughout my life, how these people have just come up to me during certain periods. Not the same details as yours, but
but
it's like I am being watched.
Yeah, same situation still. And why I call them charters is because every 7 years they seem to show up. And I think they're keeping charts on us, people that are lifetime experiencers like us. You know, I had the same lady that came to my hospital room, White Dove, I talked about. You know, when I was younger than probably 20 something, and I talked to her one day, and she mentioned a ship that I saw with a parent, and she said, "Yeah, you had a friend on that ship." He said they were watching you. You think they weren't? They were just there. They were watching you, and your friend from that ship gave you something. I'm like, okay, you new age freak, right? You know what I mean? I never had it. I couldn't remember it. Then I'm about 30 something, and I happened to be at home looking at my mother's house. I was looking at a UFO book, and my mom walked by and goes, "Oh, that looks like the one we saw." What? And she said, "You? Do you remember I took you to Ardennes? I went to go get a Stretch Armstrong. I went to go get. She's taking me to get one of those. You can remember the toy and all that, but you can't remember the ship." And I told, and my mom didn't believe. Okay, but you know, and when this woman told me that, White Dove said, your friend gave you something. I couldn't think about it. I'm like, what is she talking about? She goes, "You can't probably remember it." And I said, "I've never seen a UFO with one of my parents." And she goes, "You can't remember because they're in telepathic communication with you." Okay. So a few years after that, by then I'm pushing 34. I got the chicken pox at 34 years old because I worked with youth quite a bit. Anyway, yeah, that was great. You're going to be sterile. Oh, gee, thanks. I don't have any kids yet. Anyway, wait, I'll tell you, I had chickenpox suck, man. Point being, I found this rock, that same rock I just mentioned. I still had it, and I started thinking anybody that ever gave me anything that was weird, it was this guy. Okay, and that's like I said, I had to deal with the fact he was Caucasian. Even when we left, I remember my mom. Okay, I'm gonna throw another one at you. This rock, I've got it right here. Okay, it looks like a regular river stone. All right. Now, when he gives it to me, I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at it because I was attracted to it because I was watching a show on Nickelodeon called Under the Mountain. All right. And Under the Mountain was a gentleman named Mr. Jones that came to Earth and gave these kids two rocks that looked similar to this that were telepathic, and he was from another star system. And he was fighting a force called the Wilbur Force that were like these symbiotic mud worms, and these rocks he had was his whole civilization. He said they destroyed my planet, but we made we put all of our energy into these so that they could be used on another planet to destroy them. Now, when Mr. Jones left the planet at the end of the show, he was a light being. Either way, sorry, I'm going too far off. Point being, this gentleman approached me in a context like that, so I would accept it and work with him. All right, talk to him. Now, Kelly, before I leave, all right, he says, before I left then that day, he says, "I want you to take that rock and dream with it. It's very special. Put it under your pillow and dream with it." And then he says, "I'm going to give it to you." And I see now he didn't work there, but the people knew him. He said, "I want you to do this. I want you to join this." He gives me a thing it's a card, and it's for the Kansas Mineral and Gem Society. I want you to join that group. It's free. Even though you're young, it's free. And anyway, that's how that comes up, all right? But I couldn't remember any of this. And I started realizing every 7 years, somebody like this has approached me. So, but if you're not in tune with the energy, with the vibration, you'll miss it. I've seen nothing to separate them from normal people with the exception of the one female that approached me. She said she was of the ethnicity of Black and Guatemalan. And who says that? I'm of the ethnicity. And she was so much in my, this one, I'm in my 20s, like I said, every 7 years. And she's telepathically blowing me up so much, I can't shut her off. She knows things about me. And then she's kind of just gone. No idea where she went. You know what I mean? How many times, especially living somewhere like LA or somewhere, do you meet someone like that you can't verify? You know what I mean? Anyway, I think some people to be aware of. And oh yeah, the airport. A lot of people say they meet these people at the airport. I just call them the charters, and I think they're from the future. I don't know. I don't know. I'll tell you that. Oh, one other thing about them. Her eyes were nothing that wasn't a human characteristic, but just very big, nice eyes. And some of them have the ears. Their ears seem to be, missing the lobe right here. Like it just kind of just goes right in, missing the bottom part of the lobe. That is the only thing I've been able to see that would be able to distinguish them from normal people. And it's not enough. Anybody can have that. So, but the energy, you'll feel them. Is how many of you met, Kelly?
We're gonna have to do this on another show. I don't know if you can hear my alarm back there, but my alarm's like I have to go tell my husband to go pick Samantha up from school. So I think that's probably the universe saying we need to continue. Right. Oh my gosh, there's so many questions and everything. But yeah, let's because I've got to go. If I don't go remind him, I can't see him.
That's cool.
If I don't go remind him, then she will be on. And I think it's about to rain. She's going to be outside waiting in the rain.
Here too. Thank you for having me on the show. Thank you for talking.
Thank you
and everything you did to get me on here. I know you worked hard to do it. Thank you.
Oh, we did. And we're going to get your thumbnail made. Long story, everybody. Sorry, there's not going to be a thumbnail for maybe a day, but that's okay. We're getting things worked out. Everything's going to work itself out. The important thing was to get you on here.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. After this, we will book you for another show, and then I'll let them know what time you're going to be on so that they can plan to be sick that day at school or work. Come in and listen. And we will get to questions next time. Okay. Anyway, all right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want Barry to come back, please put it in the comments that you want him to come back, and we will definitely have him on. And if you, I'm sure you're going to be reading the comments. If you have any questions, put them in the comments so that he can see them and kind of maybe be prepared before he gets here, so that if like 5 questions were kind of along the same lines, he can just go ahead and tell the full story instead of answering 5 questions, and we'll try and do that. So, all right, guys, I guess we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.